We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the stream. Welcome,
Hey,
Charkie.
Cass.
Howdy.
Yeah, that was me. Hi.
Thank God. Okay, so at least I know who's calling. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, viewers at home. Welcome to the Bad Game Hall of Fame. Welcome to the classic Console Creeptacular. Woo! It's October. I don't know if you've checked the calendar recently, but it is the October month. This is the month that contains the holiday Halloween. Therefore, we are contractually obligated to play some number of scary games this month.
This is the month that is the holiday Halloween.
And it's also another important, globally recognized phenomenon occurring in October is that it is also my birth month. My birthday is the day before Halloween, October 30th. So I've always kind of had a strange affinity for the Ghoul-a-Day, for this whole month and the aesthetic of creepy things.
And you know what today also is? It is National Be Nice Day. I'm not kidding. October 5th is National Be Nice Day.
It's also National Military Podcast Day, according to Slime Generator in chat. So, all sorts of events happening in October.
But I'm just saying that tonight's games, the idea is we're going to have to be nice to all of them. Because they all tried their hardest, darn it. And we're the Bad Game Hall of Fame. Oh.
Ooh, yeah, no, we made a mistake in the branding there.
And we give games their due, so let's give them their due with our best foot forward, our best intentions. I'm sure this will be great.
You know, this is a classic Console Creeptacular. It was a well-established segment, of course. A lot of these games, the theme is classics of the horror game. Formative horror titles from the very beginning of the industry until around, let's say, like the late 1980s. So a lot of these are very early games. A lot of these are very primitive games. A lot of these are innovative games. Important games, I would say. Doesn't mean they're all good. In fact, there's a few in here that, rest assured, a few of these are complete crap. Also,
be nice.
Not all of them are actually console games. There's actually a lot of computer games here too, and like a couple arcade games, but that wouldn't play nice with the alliteration. If it was classic console, computer, and arcade game Creeptacular, it also go a little long in the tooth. And there's a lot of teeth on the screen here, as you can see.
Say something nice
about. Wait till we get to the games, please.
Hi, Magic Meows. You're looking great today.
Perfect. We got it. So yeah, this is going to be a historic look at some of the historical horror titles coming from you, who I know is a fan of the horror games. Yes. I know you're all about that Five Nights at Freddy's, that Garden of Bam Bam, Baldi's Basics.
I have to, you're joking, but I know way too much lore about all of those things.
Entirely too much lore about those things. And for my part, I am a survival horror fan specifically. I don't really go for like the spooky horror games where it's like jump scare central and all that, but I do appreciate the structure of a survival horror game, the beats of one, and so forth. So will any of these games scare us tonight, being horror game veterans? Probably not, but we can still appreciate them in a historic context. Give a little bit of a play-by-play. We have lots of slides for this one, and quotes and things of that nature, so this will be an educational stream, which is the scariest kind of stream you can put out there, honestly. So you ready to get spooked, Charky?
Oh, I'm ready, and I got something here to help me get through these spooky times, to calm my nerves if it gets too much for me. I got Charky Stream Snack. Tonight's stream snack is, once again, the Farm Rich mozzarella sticks. I am running out of unique foods. I have to go find other places to shop. I do have something unique coming up Tuesday, maybe? I don't want to try and, like...
You're gonna bob for apples live on stream.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. Oh, you know what? You know how I really like the Witch's Brew Alani drink? Okay, yes. First of all, that's not the drink tonight.
How is that not?
Because I didn't have any ready. Also, because I just woke up not too long ago, and I don't want a ton of caffeine right now. So I'll have a little caffeine. I have Dr. Pepper Creamy Coconut. But...
Ooh, spooky!
Ooh. You know what they call like putting coconut in soda dirty style or something like that? Like apparently that's like in Utah or something. They call it if you put coconut in a soda, it's called dirty.
Dirty bits.
I don't understand. Anyway, the Witch's Brew thing I wanted to bring up though was apparently Sonic's has a new Witch's Brew slush, which is like a green apple base with like boba tea bubble things for a caramel
tapioca
flavor.
balls, like tapioca pearls.
Yeah, tapioca balls, but like caramel. And like, man, that sounds really good. Except for the fact that Sonic like milkshakes, anything they do with cream, are the nastiest things on the face of the earth. So I don't know. I think
you gotta risk it. I think you gotta chance it. Do it for the
bit. We already did chance time last week.
All right, fair enough.
Or the week before. Anyway, that'll do for the stream snack. A dirty Dr. Pepper and some mozzarella sticks.
Very good. And I am drinking tonight. What? You'll never know. Ooh, it's a mystery. Spooky October mystery for you. Let's get to the games, why don't we?
Sure.
Starting with Death Race. 1975's Death Race. December 1975. Or I'm sorry, I meant 76. Well, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to why I confused those two dates. This is a game developed and published by Exidy, and it is quite infamous in the history of video games. Arguably, the first ever horror game, hence why it is the first game on this list. Much has been written about this game, especially in recent years, in about its infamy, and about how much of an impact it really had on the market, which is not as much as been blown up to be. But it definitely caused a little bit of controversy. Now, I mentioned the year 1975, December 1975, when I meant to say 76, because that was the release date for one Demolition Derby. It's Chicago Coin's Game with a Brain. This was also developed by Exidy and published by Exidy in collaboration with Chicago Coin, a manufacturer that was soon to go out of business. And this game was a big contributing factor to it, apparently, in that company going out of business, losing money. We're going to reference an article from the Video Game History Foundation here. This is written by one Chris Chapman, who also produced a very good video on the subject of Death Race. And this is a quote from, we're going to read from the article, The Media versus Death Race, which is what we just linked to here. And this is going to help fill in a little bit of the context for us. Death Race wasn't an original design. It was a minor modification of an earlier and much less successful machine, 1975's Destruction Derby. Exidy were a minor industry player with a limited reach. Struggling to find buyers, they licensed Destruction Derby to Chicago Coin, a company with 44 years of pinball and coin-op experience. Exidy would manufacture the machines, rebranded with a sportier cabinet design as Demolition Derby, and Chicago would distribute them through the channels they built over the decades. So already two names, two different brandings for this game, either Demolition and or Destruction Derby. That's how it was supposed to go. Unfortunately, the timing of the deal coincided with Chicago running out of coin. The company would collapse 2 years later. Contractually prohibited from selling the machine themselves, but receiving little in the way of royalties, Exidy decided to change the game just enough to bring it to market as a new product. Howell Ivey explains the process. I made modifications to the PCB by changing the image memories and audio circuits to create a different game utilizing the same PCB. All the PCBs at the time were dedicated in hard logic without microprocessors or programs that could be changed, so image memory and analog component changes could be the only thing that could be changed to make the PCB a different game. Any other choice would be a completely new design system, which would take too long. So we changed the cars to gremlins, crash cars to crosses, and crash sounds to screams. And thus, Death Race was born, which was, during that period in time, marketed for a brief period of time as Death Race 98. They eventually had to strip the 98 from the title because a little movie by the name of Death Race 2000 thought that was a little too close.
I feel like there's a million things called Death Race that are not at all related to each other.
No, certainly.
It's one of the most commonly used titles for things in general, I think.
To be sure, but this is the original game, Death Race, so it's the first game that can claim the Death Race name. The article that we linked to continues to cover some of the pop-ups, this game popping up in newspapers, in reporting, in articles which condemn the game as promoting violence, calling it sick, sick, sick. To quote the article, the ignition source of the Death Race controversy several months after the game's release was a July 1976 Associated Press wire article by Wendy Walker, which ran in hundreds of newspapers across the United States. Paul Jacobs is quoted, many editors truncated the piece, cutting off the last 2 or 3 paragraphs or sometimes more, which led to a lack of information available about the game, about real, like, contextual details that explain what the game was meant to be, that were meant to, you know, describe it as being goofy. So people led with just the bit that it was corrupting the youths, as it were. The controversy was reignited a few months later with a polemic in the pages of Family Safety, a membership magazine of the National Safety Council, health and safety advocacy organization. And then one of the last major instances of this game popping up in the news came with a round of television and newspaper coverage, including a December 1976 New York Times article by Ralph Blumenthal. I just think that stuff is interesting because this is really one of the first games to get picked up on in newspapers. Unfortunately, it's for all the wrong reasons. It's for the purposes of demonizing it. You know, the trends that would continue in the decades to follow. The more things change.
I say, when we play this, I think we need to look at this through the lens of 1975, right?
Sure.
And we need to think to ourselves, like, we are seeing this and we are thinking, like, this is so violent, right? Sure. We need to view the violence on our screens. Granted, people were, at this time, I think they were making movies in the 1970s.
Yeah, but, you know, if you had a cowboy point a gun towards the camera, the audience would still, like, whoa! They would still jump out of their seats. And God forbid a train looked like it was coming towards them. No, I mean, video games were still very new in the 1970s in terms of, like, pop culture and understanding of them. So just the fact that a game existed in an arcade that children could theoretically go to and take the wheel and run over facsimiles of people, I mean, that was enough. That's all it really took to get a moral panic going.
Kids also had pop guns.
Yeah, that's true. Again, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't believe in video games being a completely corrupting force. I think there's a lot of good they can do. That's an argument for another time. Not even an argument, more like an agreement. Yeah. Before we launch the game, we should mention what version of this game we're going to play. This game does not emulate in MAME as of yet. Instead, we're going to play a version of it made for Windows. This is by one Fab Slab. It's available on itch.io. It is a version of Death Race made for the modern computer, and that's the version we're going to play. It has some differences aesthetically. It's a bit more smooth. The scale is a bit different from the original arcade game, but it's going to do us just fine, I think. It's a fine version of this from 2016. All right, this should be launching shortly. There we go. All right. This...
Hit Gremlins for points, use reverse for quicker, and get away after a crash. Got it.
Yep, those are the instructions. Don't open Dead Inside. I'm going to play the one-player version of this first. There is a two-player version. We'll jump into that in a second. Or once this first round is over, but I'll just give... this title screen, by the way, is not what the title screen would look like in the game. I know someone mentioned great title screen. This is actually the cabinet art digitized into the game as if it were a graphic that could have been loaded up, which is, again, a creative liberty that Fab Slab took. But as a wrapper for this, as an excuse to have a menu for this first screen, I think it's fine. I think that's acceptable. I think that you're allowed to do something like that. All right, 3, 2, 1, fuck it. Let's get that gremlin. Gremlin got. So imagine 1976, 75, you said, right?
Right. And we're seeing this. We are probably not a kid in this case. Let's say we are someone who works in media, right? Or writes for a newspaper, writes an editorial for a newspaper. And we see our kid play this, and we're like, death of innocence.
Yeah, this is it. This is the moment. Get back here. Okay, so they mention that you can go backwards to move quicker. You actually need to move backwards to get out of the collision of getting stuck on a gremlin that you've run over. So every time you hit something, you need to be prepared to reverse immediately and then keep on driving. Also, you'll notice these walls over here that they can run into that we can't, that they can go and hide in. If you actually drive in reverse, it just completely ignores that. It ignores all collision when you drive in reverse, which is actually pretty convenient. I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if that's original program code or if that's just a oversight of this version. I hope this was in the original game. But yeah, you can tell this is very primitive, but there's a little game here. There's a little hook to this. There's skill to be demonstrated here, to be sure that it takes some amount of adeptness, especially to get a high score on it, which was not tracked, but you were given this screen here that tells you how many points you have and what rank that designates you as. If you get 1 to 3 points, you're a skeleton chaser. 4 to 10, you're a bone cracker. 11 to 20 points, gremlin hunter. 21 or over, expert driver. Oh, how many points do I have? That's 22. That's right, I'm an expert driver. I'm the best driver of all time.
Play that victory screen. Just for point of reference, and I know I'm really hammering in on the whole violence thing and how quaint it is that people tried to stir up shit over this.
Sure.
But I looked up what else came out in 1975. Tank, in which you play a tank.
Yeah.
And shoot things.
Funny that.
Gunfight, in which you are a cowboy. I mentioned cowboys
shooting.
earlier. You're a cowboy and you're shooting.
There's cactuses in the center. It's pretty cool. I like that game.
Yeah. And also Demolition Derby.
Yeah.
Because this game is Demolition Derby. All we've done is recontextualize what we're saying. Like, you're blowing up cars, and like
that's all you need.
You're right, and then like everyone's like, okay, fine, and then someone changed it to a little gremlin sprite. It says you're blowing up gremlins. Like, oh no, not
the gremlins. Someone think of the poor gremlins, please. You ready to play this game, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I have this mapped out. This should work. Your stick or your D-pad should work, either or.
Okay.
I'm the white car. You're the grayer one. And
I assume that's not how this would work on the actual machine.
No,
it wouldn't have different colors at all. Which is, I mean, for a remake to just be playable, I guess that's fine. If you just want to like add some sort of modern amenity to it.
I think you're partially controlling me a little bit. I think I may have bound this wrong, but as long as you feel like I'm not stealing control away from you, that's all that matters. Okay. In that case, I'll just keep driving in circles. If I can still get a higher score than you, that'd be something.
Well, that just means I have to swerve as much as I can.
Yeah, you could sabotage my ass here, but I mean, I always have that first round. I'll always have that first.
Yeah,
that
well,
first
that's all that
22.
matters.
Yeah, I proved
like,
my point. I demonstrated. I set out what I proved to prove.
Pro Striker, I think. I can't check chat at the moment, but Pro Striker in chat asked if we're going to play Chiller tonight.
Nope.
I don't believe that's in the cards. Nope. No,
I believe that's not allowed on Twitch.
So we thought about it because it's a very historic horror game, but there is a Twitch category for it, but we're just not sure. And if we have to ask like, hey, is Twitch going to bonk us for this? Like, we just might as well not do it.
Video Game King asks, is this the first video game with tank controls? No, Demolition Derby would be. No, there was other games before that. There were other driving games that did very similar control input to this.
As I mentioned, Tank came out this year.
All right, you win that one, and you are a gremlin hunter. Oh, hey, Big Bang Blitz, it's been a minute. With the assumption that this was inspired in part or whole by the Death Race movie, the articles do get into that. Chris Chapman, who is, I would say, the internet's, if not the world's leading expert on this particular game, having written that article and done the video on this. I'm sure they get into that. I'm sure they get into the Death Race 2000 inspirations and so forth. But you can, folk out there who may have an interest, we highly recommend the article, the video that is attached to it. But that's going to do it for Death Race for us. There ain't much to it. They're not exactly like extra stages that we can go into there, you know? It's
1975 arcade game.
You get 90 seconds for your quarter, and then that's good enough is. Which means that we move on to the next game in our list, and one that is another innovator, to be sure, another one that you see brought up a lot in conversation of games that are important, but which not a lot of people actually think to play for themselves, and we will remedy that tonight. 3D Monster Maze, released December 1981 for the ZX81, the Sinclair ZX81. Not the Spectrum, not the Spectre that everyone's familiar with. This is an earlier model. This was developed by one Malcolm Evans on behalf of J.K. Gray Software, later to be known as New Generation Software. They would also re-release the game under that new label. This game is Maze War. Have you ever heard of Maze War? It's basically that, the 1973 game Maze. It's just one of those 3D grid type, 3D maze type games where it's like all bitmap graphics and you press up. It's all grid based. But this is a version of it for home computer, and it has some elements, some aesthetic choices, some presentational elements that do make it at least somewhat distinct.
I played a lot of the prequel, the one that came before, 2D Monster Maze, which was published on the back of a Denny's menu.
A classic of game, yes. It's very innovative. I mean, you ask Tim Schafer, Cliffy B, where they draw their inspiration from, and yeah, 2D Monster Maze. There is an article on this game as well, because this is a somewhat important game. Rory Milne, on behalf of Retro Gamer for the July 2020 issue, did an interview with the game's creator, with Malcolm Evans, for an article called The Evolution of 3D Monster Maze. You can read that here on pressreader.com. They have scans of Retro Gamer magazine. I don't know if that's a legit copy. Apologies if not. Go read Retro Gamer. Go actually acquire Retro Gamer. They're enthusiast press, and I appreciate what they do. And also, I did not set up a ZX81 emulator for this. So we're actually going to play a browser version of this game, a version of this game that was ported to browser. It is available at this link here on zx-gaming.co.uk. It has a few different ZX81 games available for you to play. But we are here for Monster Maze, and we will get to it in a moment. If you hang on the load screen, it pesters you a little bit. Press something then. Well, I think I will. Oh, roll up! See the amazing Tyrannosaurus Rex, king of the dinosaurs, in his lair! Perfectly preserved in silicone since prehistoric times. He's brought to you for your entertainment and exhilaration. If you dare to enter his lair, you do so at your own risk. The management accept no responsibility for the health and safety of the adventurer who enters his realm. The management advise that this is not a game for those of a nervous disposition. If you are in any doubt, then press S to stop. If instructions are needed to proceed, then press L to list. Otherwise, press C to continue. How's that? How's that for a carnival barker? Let's see some instructions. I could use some help with this.
Sure.
The only controls you require are 5 to turn left, 7 to move forward, 8 to turn right. And that's it. That's literally all the controls. And in this browser version, you have to use the num row. So 5, 7, 8 above like your letter keys. I just did a joy to key, a quick joy to key bind. So I just have it on D-pad on my on my DualSense here. The game ends when he catches you, the dinosaur. If you escape, a new maze is generated and your previous score carried forward. And I like this little bit of how they explain away the load times. The mists of time will pass over you briefly. That was it. That was the mist of time.
I assume that on an actual
ZX81, yeah, probably some time
the load
spent.
would have been, yeah.
So this is it. This is a 3D maze. You may have seen many like it, but this one has a monster in it. I am checking all the corners. I do not know the solution to this maze. Well, there you go. We found where he was waiting. We have been posthumously awarded 0 points and sentenced to roam the maze forever. If you wish to appeal, press stop or else press continue. Yeah, I guess I want to appeal that. Oh, that just kicks you back to the title screen. Or to the prompt, the system prompt. So I guess I'm going to have to refresh the page on that one. That was tricky of them. That was mean of them. That was straight up rude of them to put that guy in a little corner, in a literal monster closet, a 3D monster closet in the 3D monster maze. All right, I think we can skip this if we just press the C button to continue. I do want to get chased a little bit.
So is this moving in real time or turn-based?
It's real time to the extent that it is like 6 frames per second, and there's game logic that updates on a per frame basis.
Okay.
What I would like to see is to see the T-Rex coming down the hallway, coming to chase us. Oh,
you found the exit.
I did, by total accident. Rex is very angry. You'll need more luck this time. I did not expect to actually solve a maze in this game. Pure luck. And it'll just generate another maze for us now. I have to imagine these aren't randomly generated so much as they are like, there's a set number of them on the program and it loads them up at random.
I actually don't know what would have cost less, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, there he is. Well, he snuck up on us.
We were playing this last night in the Discord, and someone said, like, this is the original Backrooms.
Sure.
More or less. Although, I will note
if that's your point of reference, then sure, that's fine.
I will note that we are not playing Hunt the Wumpus, which is basically...
Jesus. Man. I want to show what it is to be chased by this guy. I'm giving one more shot.
Right. So we're not playing Hunt the Wumpus because it's basically this, but a text adventure that came out in 1973. Although there are some graphic versions of Hunt the Wumpus that came later.
There he is.
I will say, though, that you said that people called Death Race the first horror game. Or one of the original horror game. Hunt the Wumpus came out in 1973, like 2 years before that. And people call that one of the first survival horror games.
People will call anything the first.
Yes, something. That is what I'm getting at, is that in trying to research this, we found so many games that the title listed like, considered by many to be the first survival horror game, considered by many to be the first survival horror game, considered by many.
Yeah, the phrase loses its meaning at a certain point. But I at the very least, I will say a 3D monster maze here, which I think we've seen everything there is to see in it, is a genuine innovator. It was genuinely taking a form that had been established, sure, in the 3D... fake pseudo 3D maze, but did unique things with the presentation, the little bits of text at the bottom of the screen that stand in place of sound effects that the system couldn't produce. So you get like the audio cues of their footsteps behind you. He's behind you. Run. Like that sort of stuff.
I like the run
on
on screen there, yeah.
It reminds me of the first nightmare I ever had as a child. Have I talked about this? Have I talked about my first nightmare on
I feel
stream?
like I talked about my first nightmare, which means you must have talked about your first nightmare.
But for the benefit of those who don't know, I suppose, my first nightmare, one of my first memories, period, one of the first things I remember from my youth, I must have been like 3 or 4 years old. I remember my nightmare vividly. I'm in a white void. There's pure whiteness all around me. No sound, no nothing. Until, for my peripheral vision, running from like stage left, Big Bird from Sesame Street, he runs right up to me, stares me right in the eyes, and just shouts, "Run!" And then runs away, and I wake the fuck up. And that's my first nightmare. It's the first thing that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Did that linger? Did like the Big Bird fear linger, or did you realize at that time?
Well, he was there to help me. He was there to save me. My best friend Big Bird. He was trying to protect me from whatever ghoulies or monsters or creeps were in that white void. It was too late, though. I didn't have it in me to run. Speaking of run, we're gonna run a little long if if we keep that going. So let's move on to the next game, why don't we? Which we're gonna start to get into proper console stuff now. Specifically the Atari VCS, also known as 2600, and one of the most famous games for it. It's Haunted House. This was released February 1982. It was developed by James Andresen for Atari, developed, published by Atari. Ghosts, Bats, Tarantulas, one-player game. 9 video games in one, because there's difficulty switches you can adjust, and there's different game modes, different configurations of... but ultimately, this is a game that has been repackaged in basically every Atari 2600 collection, every Atari 2600 tribute thing has made sure to include nods to Haunted House. It's right up here with Adventure for a lot of people.
Do you remember the Haunted House game for Xbox Live Arcade?
No, but I do remember the one that was part of Atari 50, where I think that might have been a conversion of that 361. Maybe. I don't know specifically. I could be barking up the completely wrong tree there.
It is not. I'll have to show it to you later. I'll have to show you Xbox Live Arcade Haunted House later.
All right, very good. We'll look into that. We'll do further research on that
Maybe we'll watch the Giant Bomb video on it.
Perhaps. I do want to highlight this advertisement flyer or magazine ad for Haunted House. If the ghosts don't get you, the tarantulas will. Haunted House, only from Atari. Have you played Atari today?
I feel like you're overselling the tarantulas or underselling the ghosts. One or the other.
Yeah, if, on a rarity scale, on a pure, like, provability scale, one of them is a bit more tangible than the other to me.
You may, if you can survive the werewolf, then can you survive the loose floorboards?
Ooh, can you survive the rats? They're in the walls. They won't actually come out or do anything, but they are there too. And I guess there's also like a, Satan. I guess Satan's also there, but we're kind of burying the lead a little bit there. Let's get this game launched. This is going to be 2600, so bear in mind this will look and play like a Atari 2600 game.
Go figure.
Fair warning where it's due.
Listen, we know this is a scary stream, so we gotta prep people, let them know in advance that this is going to be a 2600 game.
I think people will appreciate it. I mean, for what it's worth, I know we haven't gotten into anything too scary as of yet, but there may be games tonight that contain shocking content that might spook or scare you. Probably not. A lot of stuff is very primitive, but, there's a chance.
I think there's going to be one, at least one that will surprise you.
Possibly. So you can see me rotating my eyes, rolling my eyes here.
I think this game is cute.
And so it begins.
I like the idea that you're just like a pair of eyes, like in a cartoon when it gets real dark. For those younger in the crowd who don't know what I'm talking about, it's like in Digital Circus Episode 3 when they're in the dark and they're just the eyes. It's like that.
Sure, I'll take your word for it.
For those of you who are literally born yesterday and have only that as your point of reference, you got the thingy.
Yeah, have you figured out what the goal of this game is as of yet?
Get the
viewers at home, get the thingies. Go around this haunted house. We can turn on a flashlight to sort of see a little bit around us, to see objects. But that is more or less it. There's stairs. We can go up and down. There are different floors.
I can't tell what I want to think about more right now. If when you have the lights on around you, if it's just revealing that you are, in fact, just a pair of eyeballs that is floating around.
That is canonically, and by canonically, I mean that is what like people who have reinterpreted this game in the years since have decided to go with for it.
I was thinking it's either that or your meatwad from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
I can't do a meatwad.
Yeah, I don't have that voice in me.
Well, we got by a bat. Not by a ghoulie, but... we got something else instead, so that's just as well. I think ultimately we need to bring these objects back somewhere.
So it's an adventure-like.
Yes, before there was a name for genres, the nascent adventure genre. But it's spooky because it's pitch black, and if you play this in the dark, then you'd feel like a pair of eyeballs yourself, wouldn't you?
Is there sound that I'm not hearing?
It's all very low. I probably should boost it at least a little bit. But it's just when I warned about it being an Atari game, it's because these sounds can be a little shrill, a little obnoxious to listen to in the long term. So
okay, yeah, I can hear it now. I can hear it. Yeah, it's just very quiet.
But it adds to the ambiance. Ooh. No, joking aside, this is obviously an important game. Mm-hmm. It's, again, very primitive in terms of gameplay, and in terms of visibility, in terms of... You can see what they were trying to accomplish here, what they were trying to execute. Maybe a bit early.
I think even at the time, I think people could probably consider... I wasn't there. People were horrified by Death Ray, so what do I know? But I think people would consider this cute, like I do. Yeah, it's like a cartoon. So. It's like the haunted house scene in a cartoon.
There's also been maybe... there was at least some precedent for this, I think, too. There were other games that were like hide and seek type games that existed, like the Magnavox Odyssey 2 and the likes of that. That similarly use, but they use like the screen panels that you'd put on your CRT TV to obscure parts of it. But similar sort of premises, going around a house looking for stuff, for hidden goodies, or for other players, as the case may be, having to mitigate the darkness or areas of the screen you just can't see.
Now, granted, considering that every single screen is the same layout, it's very hard to tell where you're going from. I know that it's changing like the color of the screen.
Yeah,
like that.
I also need to figure out where I need to put these objects that we're picking up.
Yeah, I Am Headful says, I'm not sure I understand what you're doing.
So we could turn the flashlight on. That'll help us scavenge the environments looking for those objects. If I double tap the button, I can put something that I've picked up down. I think I was assembling something earlier. There's probably like a specific floor that is designated as this is the exit. This is where you need to take the treasures and stuff. But
yeah. You can see the floor number changing on the lower left next to the 20. Like, we're on floor 3 right now. And you can only hold one object at a time.
Yeah. I think I want to go to... Let's see if I can figure out how to get to floor 1.
I'm bad with my... There you go. So I'm real bad with, like, remembering dates. Adventure was before this, right?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Okay, because I definitely see, like, the DNA of Adventure, like, all over this.
To be sure. I mean...
Shining a black light on this game.
Experimental era for stuff. Like, important era, where we were giving a shape and form to what would become genres as we knew them. Because we certainly didn't have an idea of that. It was just you made a Pac-Man type or a Space Invaders type. And those were the games.
Oh, God, that room... That room was fucking haunted as hell.
I wish I knew where to drop these off. Tarantulas, giant vampires, about one fast-moving ghost will all cause you to lose a life if encountered too closely. There are 3 pieces of magical urn. Your goal is to enter the mansion and retrieve all 3 before you lose your 9 lives. Game is played from an overhead point of view. But where do we put them, though?
Keep wandering, I'll look.
Okay. Whoa! Stranger P asking, is this Boo Haunted House? Yes, this is, in fact, Boo Haunted House, the original. People asking, is it possible to die in this game? Yeah, we have 6 lives left of an initial 9. Where do we drop this off?
Okay.
I found all these things again. So I found my little collection that I've been making. Does it say what floor?
I'm looking through a manual right now.
I think this is probably the most efficient way to check it. I'm just going to go floor by floor here. Get killed by a ghost again.
Which game variation are you playing? 1?
Just 1.
Uh-huh. How does it not tell me what the win condition is?
Well, there's not a win condition specifically. It's a scoring condition, probably. They'll be like, take these items here to score them, or to redeem, or where you need to assemble the pieces of the urn. But to be clear, the folk at home who are watching us like going around in circles right now and being like, wow, that looks like lousy. We didn't do the benefit. We didn't do ourselves a favor by skipping reading the manual, which is the first thing any gamer back in the day with a 2600 or a VCS that was looking to get a new game would have done. They would know going in what the game mode variations are, all that stuff. This is...
Be clear, I don't think this looks bad. Like, I like how this looks.
Sure, but it's confusing in the sense that it's completely nondescript, that you have to use the number and the colors, and that if there is a destination, if it is trying to... There is no sense of it pointing us in a direction of where we need to go drop off these items. You know what I mean? That's my problem, is that, you know, it lacks, like, the modern amenity of, like, you'd have an arrow pointing to where you need to go. It needs something like that.
Still,
any idea?
Still, like, to this day, though, I will go and play, like, Adventure on the 2600 just for fun.
Sure.
Like, so legit, like, I'm not so sure about this one, because this one is, like, what if Adventure, but you can't see most of the time. Which is actually...
If you can't find me an answer to this, by the way, I get you're going on a point here, but if you can't find out what I need to do here, I'm going to end this game.
I'm looking for it as I'm talking, and I can't find it.
Well, okay, then. I guess that's going to do it for Haunted House. Read the manuals, folks. They tell you the things you need to know. It's
archive.org.
cool.
Archive.org is not loading for me, so I can't.
I've gone to Atari and looked at the manual there, but also, you know,
that's
ultimately we're just what we do is we'd cash in points. We'd get our score up.
Yeah,
is what ultimately the ending of the game would be, and it's just a score attack. It's just you keep going and collecting points as many times as you can until the game decides to kill you. As so many games of that era amounted to, and that's fine for 82. That's fine. For an early entry in the annals of the horror game, it has its place.
I actually found the thing.
Son of a bitch!
it just says return to the main entrance carrying the urn, which I swore you did, but oh well.
Well, someone can make heads or tails. It's very simple. It's just, you know, I got show jitters. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't intuit it for myself. We got another game coming out. I got another game to cover today. It's another 2600 game. It's Alien, released November 1982, developed by Doug Neubauer for Fox Video Games, for 20th Century Fox's video game division. There was an interview conducted with Doug Neubauer on Gamasutra, currently game developer, but I actually have the archive.org link for the original Gamasutra URL, just a little bit of bookkeeping there. But to give a little bit of history here, to give a little bit of context as to how we got an Alien movie tie-in game for the Atari 2600 in the year 1982, Doug Neubauer worked as an independent contractor making film tie-in games for 20th Century Fox's New Games division, making games such as Megaforce, MASH, and Alien. Neubauer had hoped that making several video game adaptations would lead to making a film license like Star Wars, finding that, quote, just because a company makes a movie doesn't mean they have the rights to make a video of the movie. Case in point, Star Wars. They didn't have the rights to it. Okay? That's a weird thing for him to mention. I guess he just wanted to... I guess what he's trying to say is that he figured if he kept making movie tie-in games for 20th Century Fox, that somehow that would amount to them making a Star Wars game that he can make for them, or something. I don't know. Thank you, whoever put out an anonymous gift out there, by the way. Thank you, anonymous gifters in this Subtober. Woo! From contemporary reviews, by the way, in case you're curious how this game did on release in November 1982, the Video Game Update, an early periodical, did not recommend the game, stating it was, quote, one more rehash of the Eat Dot maze, finding the graphics to be, quote, only fair, and gameplay is just too much like games already available to create much interest. So, derivative, as they would say. You can tell what this game is going to be before we even open it up. This is a prototypical movie license tie-in game for the 2600. So you will see that momentarily. And viewer beware, you're in for a scare. It's more 2600. Here it is. This is Alien.
Yep.
That's Sigourney Weaver. Those are the aliens.
Which one?
The little lady running.
Okay, I see four little ladies running around. Which one's Sigourney Weaver?
Oh no, the blue one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, Pac-Man, kind of a big deal at the time.
kind of a genre at the time. So does this follow the plot of the film?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the three aliens attacking you all at once.
I believe I said it before, but I've not seen the movie Alien.
You really should. We should get you on that.
Probably.
Let's see if I can do this on one credit. Let's see if I can do this without conceding a life. I'm good enough at Pac-Man that I could probably pull this off.
This had to be, obviously not the first, but this had to be one of the earliest examples of movie license games, right?
It's certainly up there. I mean, there were other games that 20th Century Fox's games division was putting out at this time.
Right. I mean, this was the same year as Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think.
Yeah, 82. Howard Scott Warshaw, also creator of the E.T., as more folk know him by. But yeah, that Temple of... Not Temple of Doom, but that Raiders of the Lost Ark game, like you said, yeah.
Oh, God, that's too many aliens.
And there we go. I failed the bonus game. That's what happens when you unlock... when you complete a maze, it takes you to a bonus game. Let's see if we can trigger that again. Let's see if I can get a second view on that.
It takes you to, like, the ending of the first episode in Doom. Oh, what was that?
I thought I had a weapon. I thought this would work to...
I thought you were wielding the Sigourney sword or something.
Friends, it is not over yet.
Would you mind to read? I see someone subscribe, but I can't see the message. I'm Pac-Man. I'm aliening.
I don't think it's a subscription. I see a
a cheer.
It's a cheer from Bob Nader saying, "I know you're not playing it, but there's an alien game for microcomputers. There's a close-up of the xenomorph, and I swear to you, it looks like it's wearing pants."
Many games took elements from Alien. Were certainly inspired by the Alien film. You know, in the same way that Star Wars was. It was influential sci-fi back in the day.
Especially games that came out of Japan took influence from Alien.
No doubts.
Alright, see if you can do it this time. No.
Let's cheat. It's like Frogger. Frogger sucked. Let's try it like this. Can we move left and right? No, it's just up and down. Which
Let me
is part
go
of the
back
problem
to...
here. Yeah, how am I supposed to get through that? How am I supposed to get through these guys?
I wait.
I don't do that. I don't do waiting.
But, okay, well, you're never going to beat this bonus game then, because this is not a pattern you can get past like that.
Oh, but you run out of time, too.
If
you wait too long, it also just kills you.
Bad luck of the draw, then.
I still also can't figure out what this does. You would assume this is an attack of some sort, but we walk into enemies with it and we just die.
I'm pulling up the Atari Age manual for this.
No, don't worry too much about it. Or if you can, if you have it up.
I already have it up.
Because I've already conceded my lives in this game. I've already...
You're picking up the eggs, or you're smashing the eggs, I'm sorry. There are hyper warp passages off to the side. That's the lore explanation. Flamethrower, 1 per human, and pulsars, 3 per maze. It says a spurt of flame from the contraption causes the aliens to turn away from you or become immobilized for a short period of time.
Okay, so it doesn't actually do anything to kill them. It's just supposed to be a deterrent.
Yes.
Hell of a deterrent. Hell of a... really worked out there. God, I so badly want to see what completion of the bonus screen.
Apparently, if you have the flamethrower, if you use the flamethrower on a pulsar, which is those, the power pellets, you can walk over it without using it if you want to save it for later.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a neat little, technical thing that you, someone had to account for to be like, hey, this gives you an extra layer of, of choice as a player.
You also only have 4 seconds worth of, flamethrower.
Give myself one last try at this. Oh, come on. There we go. No, cheat.
We got to see you do it. Yeah. Get the flamethrower. There you go.
There it is. I'm the best. That's Alien for the 2600. Hey, a lot of these games, I never said that we'd be playing all these games, for super long tonight. I said there's a lot of games to get to, There are a few more that we'll spend a little more time on later. But, when it comes to games like this, This is as much as you can show for them, realistically. This is as much as they comprise of, and that was fine for the time.
We've kind of seen the entire game at this point.
No.
Well, I mean, you know, Atari games, you had like the dip switches that you could change certain variables.
Not dip switches; those would be inside an arcade cabinet, but they did have difficulty switches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough Alien for now. Really got the movie across. Really feel like immersed in the universe of the film. I feel like Sigourney Weaver, so I feel like I've that's money well spent. However much this game would have cost back in the day, probably like $40, or was it 30? I can't remember. Anyway, that was that game, which means it's time to move on to the next one. That's how our format works. Wait, did I skip past like an advert for that? No, I did not. Good. Yes, so next game, next slide, just making sure I have all my ducks in a row here, don't mind me, is Night Stalker for the Mattel Intellivision. This was released, let me double check that. Yeah, May 6th, 1982. It was developed by one Steve Montero on behalf of Mattel for their Intellivision console. I think this is the first Intellivision game we're playing here on the Bad Game Hall of Fame stream, unless I'm forgetting something. I'm probably forgetting something. This is a horror game for the Intellivision. That's all I got on it. There's a little more to it. There's a version of this on Atari 2600 as well, but we'll get to that when we get to that. We should play this first version, though, for reference, so we can see what they were building on when they eventually came to convert this game to other platforms.
Every time I see the Mattel Electronics Presents thing on top of
B-17
like
bomber,
television,
every time.
I always think B-17 bomber.
No, it's gonna live in my head forever. It's never going away. B-17 bomber ain't going away.
We need an excuse to play that on stream at some point. I don't know what the theme would be.
Games with
B-17 bomber
synthesized speech. Games featuring B-17 bombers. One of the two.
Yeah.
All right, so look at the spooky maze here.
Pro Striker says that Intellivision Amico claimed that Night Stalker was going to be one of the things that came out for it.
I'm sure they believed that. I'm sure they convinced themselves that it was going to come out for it. But little did they know that nothing would come out for it. Ever.
Is this Berserk?
This is bad Berserk. Yes, you got it immediately. There are guns that pop up. I picked up one. We can use that to fire back. But more likely just get shot because there's travel time on the bullets. And we emerge from our cell again.
So, are you the Night Stalker, or is the thing trying to kill you the Night Stalker? It could go either way.
We're competing for the title of Night Stalker. We're determining whose job here more entails night stalking.
This is the Night Stalk Olympics.
So obviously that skeleton is the biggest threat. I think the spider will stun you, which will set you up to get attacked. I think the bats also do that. But really, that skeleton guy there, who we just blew the fuck up, is the real risk.
Yeah, sure looks like it. Does he always spawn in the same spot? Can you just spawn camp him? Well, you have limited ammo, I guess.
Yes, I'm out of ammo now. So I'm gonna have to find some other way. I need to get my gun. So we can defend ourselves here. Yeah, bad version of Berserk. Berserk, which is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. And this is certainly inspired by that, but without the element of multiple screens of randomization, where it's just this one screen forever. Perpetuity. Which is not the most exciting thing in the world. I do think there is progression in the sense that when you hit certain score milestones, it does spawn a couple new monsters in later in the game. I think it spawns some killer robots, I believe. So those might not even be
more
skeletons.
in line with Berserk.
Yeah. And then Evil Otto comes out of nowhere, and it's...
I feel like this would be interesting and also immensely unfun to have like a multiplayer thing for this.
Well, there are lots of games that were like this. Like Wizard of War is another arcade game I really like. That is really should not be a two-player game. It plays very similar to this, but it is. And you know, I like it well enough. But yeah, completely unnecessary two-player mode. It's appreciated, But this one I think is just single player. I think they did it with any sort of pretense. I'm just going to go back in my hole and hide until my gun comes out. Johnny Baggett says, some folks say this is the first survival horror game. Go to hell. Shut up. We don't have any ammo. I'm just waiting on that gun to spawn. Do we need to keep walking around for the gun to spawn? Do we need to walk on, like, some point on the map that maybe triggers it?
Has the world run out of guns?
It might be the case. It's a utopia, finally.
Are we reaching armistice?
Yeah, it has to be something like you need to just keep going around in circles all over the place.
Listen, Santa won't give you a gun if you're staying up trying to wait for him.
I don't want to put an eye out. I don't want to disappoint Santa either. I'm going to go into the spiderweb area here. It's the one place I haven't thoroughly explored. Well, that was worthless. That was a waste of time.
You may have run out of gun. I don't know.
Then what are you supposed to do at that point? I'll get hit by a bat.
Is there a Mattel version of Atari Age I can look up?
Mattel of Age presents... Bob Ainer says, try going in the cage. We were just in there. I'll try it again.
Yeah.
For lack of any options.
I mean, you've killed several skeletons. You probably belong in that cage. I think something is screwy.
No, I think it's just very simple game. Can I walk into this thing and not take damage? Nah. I could a little bit. Or maybe it's shot and that's what... Oh! Got bit by a bat, but that's alright. This is less alright.
Oh god.
Just completely stun-locked. Actually, the skeleton killed it for me, so that's awful nice of him.
Just a little rabies, I'll be fine. Yeah, I guess you ran out of guns for that life.
Hecked up. Fucked up, even. 2 in 1.
I think we may have expended this game.
I wanted to see if I can get one of the robots to pop up, one of the advanced monsters, but yeah, that probably ain't happening, is it?
Alright, if it doesn't happen after 4,000 points, it's probably not happening.
I gotta use up all my ammo, at least. That's how they let you know you don't have ammo, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And I got. Yeah, that's probably gonna do it for it. Unless there's a cool game over screen or something. Let's find out.
Would there be?
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Game over. Yeah, that was Night Stalker. Again, very early goings, very early days. But that is the conceit of the stream, so you know what you're getting into when you started watching this, I would hope. Now, that's all well and fine. That's a decently impressive little title for the Intellivision, I guess. So impressive and so good was it that Mattel thought we should bring this to our competitor's console in the 2600. We can't call it Night Stalker, though. We can't call ourselves Mattel Electronics either. So what we'll do is we'll use our M Network label, which Mattel used to publish games on the 2600, while also running their own console interest, being a manufacturer at the time as well. And they put out a legally distinct game by the name of Dark Cavern for your Atari video game system. So yeah, we'll see what this version of the game looks like. We'll see what an early bit of conversion work looks like. Because, you know, back in the day, conversions were pretty distinct, to say the least. That it wasn't just like one-to-one, that you had to rebuild the game from scratch every time, that's for certain. You weren't sharing code or anything, so it wasn't proper port work, but you would do your best with the tools you had. So let's see what they did with Dark Cavern. It's just a maze game. It's more like Aliens than it is like the game we were just playing.
I would like to see this sort of publishing practice, like, happen today, though. Like, Sony with a mustache publishing Helldivers 2 to,
To the
Xbox.
Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Hex Swimmers. Legally distinct. This moves a bit quicker.
It does, yeah.
You can actually see your ammo count at all times.
I would argue, though, it looks a bit worse.
It definitely looks worse. It does not have the cobwebs. It doesn't have the aesthetic notes that the original version has. This reads more just like, this could be anything. These could be anything. We could be anywhere.
Yeah, like, I mean, I can tell that's a bat. But
Can you?
Barely. Yeah. But, like, what is that, like, pasta that was coming towards you?
A ghost, clearly. We still have 23 bullets left. That's nice. And 4 lives. We can't go back in the cage in this one.
Like, actually, you know what the thing I said looks like a bat? It actually kind of looks like a skull with wings. It looks like you're getting chased by the Avenged Sevenfold logo.
You have to use your imagination at this point in time,
Yeah.
to be sure.
Oh, who said in chat? Big Bang Blitz in chat says those might be snakes. The little pasta.
Watch out for
Yeah,
them.
that would make sense.
So yeah, you can see that even for consoles that were contemporary, for a game that was converted, released within the same year, that there were significant differences. There were legitimate merits to the Intellivision, things that it could hold over the 2600. And if you wanted the best version of Night Stalker, you certainly would not get it on the 2600, or maybe you would. I don't know. This is actually a lot better to play. It just completely lacks in any sort of atmosphere that the original game did by incorporating like the cobwebs and whatnot. Which, you know, granted, not much, very little, but back in the day, you could do a lot with a little.
I mean, I can imagine, you know, some kid with an Atari 2600. He has a friend at school who has a television, and the television friend is like, "Hey, come to my house and check this out. You think Dark Cavern's cool? Check out Night Stalker."
Oh man, that's so sick. I should throw away my Atari 2600 and put all my stock into television because they have the superior version of this game. And that would be a sound business decision to make back in the day. That was Dark Cavern. That's as much as that is as we need to see, I think. Yeah. It does not have bonus stages a la Alien, so it is just this screen forever. And that's all you needed back in the day. Yep. Like we said.
No game over on the screen. So that's another thing that television has up on it.
Yeah, that would require putting text up on the screen, which would take up at least, like, you know, a couple bytes of memory, and that was a precious commodity back in the day.
You have to do like the Odyssey and have like a thing you stick up on your television screen.
When you game over, you have to on your own. You have to put a piece of plastic up on the screen, a piece of cellophane that says "You lose, you suck, game over."
Yep, exactly.
So that was what was that? That was Dark Cavern. Which means we're on to slide number 10 in my slideshow. 10 of 28. Ay. The next game we're going to play tonight is The Earth Dies Screaming, also brought to us by 20th Century Fox, or Fox Games, Fox Video Games, whatever branding you prefer to use for Fox's video game division. This was developed by one Dan Thompson for Sirius Software on behalf of Fox Video Games. It's released June 1983. This is a movie tie-in game, but not to any movie that was contemporary.
But I gotta say, I love this name, but I did not know that this was a movie.
Well, speaking of, The Earth Dies Screaming is a 1964 British science fiction and horror film directed by Terence Fisher, who is something of a popular British director, starring Willard Parker, Virginia Field, and Dennis Price. Names I don't know. And this was a film distributed by 20th Century Fox, the film production arm, October 14th, 1964. So they had this lying around. They had the rights to this film and to this title. And so when it came time to develop a game, they plumbed their archives. What's something we could, a nice title we can build a game around? Oh, The Earth Dies Screaming? That stands out. That's interesting. Do you need to make the game anything like the movie? No? Okay, cool. Even better.
All right, I've never seen this game before, all right? I'm not even looking at the screen to see the launch box. I'm just going to guess. Pac-Man.
Not see if quite I'm right. This time around. We look at this advert flyer, which might give it away a little bit. Just released, The Earth Dies Screaming. beat the aliens or bite the dust. So, is this horror? The movie is certainly a horror movie, a science fiction horror movie. So, it's close enough. And with a title like The Earth Dies Screaming, I mean, that's certainly evocative. You see a title like that, and you assume maybe something with horror elements, apocalyptic bent. So let's see what this game looks like. Let's see what this game that is really not based on the movie beyond the fact that it has to deal with aliens. This is alien horror. So we will see that momentarily. As soon as I find it in my library, you see. It's... Here we are. Alright, you ready to watch this Earth die screaming?
Alright, show it to me.
We're navigating around, left, right, up, and down. I'm using the radar. We can shoot up in the air or closer to the ground, it looks like. I would like it to go closer to the ground, but it... Oh, you have to move forward. It's like inverted, in a sense. The further back you move, the higher up the gun is. As you're getting close, you're going for close range. Fire here.
I'm glad it sounds like you know what you're doing.
Oh, you know what? I think these actually automatically adjust vertically. The crosshairs, that is. So they do... It's some amount of auto-aim. I think it's like we're facing in one direction and we're scrolling across the screen. You can look at the playfield there. You know, we move left and right like a defender. It infinitely scrolls left and right, but it also infinitely scrolls forward and backwards.
Do you have, like, lives on screen or something? Something to show you how many hits you can take?
It's got to be something in that bottom bar, right? By the way, is this too loud? Is this not loud enough? Let us know. I'm always paranoid with the volume with these older games.
Something changed color when that thing got away. Like, maybe the lose condition is you let too many of them escape? Like a missile command kind of thing?
Entirely
Almost.
possible. Or maybe I'm thinking it's just like, if it hits center screen, if it hits between, their projectiles hit between my two guns, like in this pseudo 3D perspective, maybe that's something.
Okay, so here's what I'm wondering.
Again, you can read a manual and find these things out,
Yeah.
folks, back in the day, so it's...
What I'm wondering, more or less, is, like, what are you trying to prevent damage? Are you trying to prevent damage to you or the Earth?
I think it's the Earth, and I think we died. I think we conceded. I think we...
Wait.
I think the Earth...
Listen for it. Did it? I don't hear any...
There it is!
It died screaming.
Sorry, Earth, I let you down again. You keep playing this if you want to. You can just start back over again. So I assume that the bottom bar has to be like something like health. And, yeah.
I could go look up the manual instead of holding up soundboards, but...
Well, why start
time for
now?
that.
Yeah, I think I just don't want to be on screen when those enemy projectiles land. I think it might be the ship, and I think it just might be like whatever's in your periphery, right? Whatever you see, whatever damage you see yourself take is the damage you take. If you didn't see it, it didn't happen. So I don't know, as far as like one of these... As far as one of these type of games, as far as one of these shooter games, this is at least like a unique take on it. Not a great take on it, on a space shooter, but they were trying to innovate on the form, to change it up in some capacity. Magic Meow says, what makes this a horror game? The fact that it's based on a science fiction horror movie. And that's it. Or it's based in the sense that they lifted the title from something in their archives. And, you know, again, like, you know, Earth screaming is scary. I hear someone screaming, I'm like, like, it takes me off guard a little bit. It's a good...
I have to say, though, I looked up, when I looked at this manual, at the tail end of it, they have also available from Fox Games, or Fox Video Games. They advertise, MASH, more fun than a 3-day pass. A MASH video game for the 2600.
I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, no, it exists. I mean, remember when they tried to make an A-Team video game?
I can see an A-Team video game more than I can see a MASH video game, to be honest.
It's level where you're on the bus and you see the lady holding her baby, and you know, there's gamifying that. You know, it was a bold choice, but an early experiment in a narrative and atmosphere and tension. That's a joke for people who have watched MASH, which I know our audience is packed to the brim with. Well, that's the Earth dies screaming. That is, it did in fact die. The screaming, that's debatable. It's a matter of some conjecture.
You know, the Intellivision version, you could have plugged in the little voice synthesizer thing, and it would have screamed for you.
Oh, damn it! Again, the Intellivision with the compelling features. I can see why they won the console war.
That Intellivision kid always has one up on you.
The next game on our list, we're working our way up now. We're getting to some stuff that I think is genuinely compelling. That I think is very interesting. And the game I have in mind here, that's something I've been looking forward to showing off on stream, is 1983's Forbidden Forest, developed by Paul Norman on behalf of Cosme Corporation. This is a series, a duology of games for the C64. And I believe there's maybe some other conversions as well, but primarily C64 is what I identify these with. There was a third one, too, that came out in 2000 when Cosme Corporation was putting out 3D versions of their backlog of games. Pretend that one doesn't exist. Even though it is actually cool, it includes this original game and its sequel, Beyond Forbidden Forest, and it has a copy of Vice, the Commodore 64 emulator, just bundled onto the CD. So they licensed a C64 emulator, and this gave you the .tap files or whatever, so that you could play those original games on like your old Windows 98 PC or whatever. So neat stuff. Horrible game though. The new game, the third game, the one that the primary selling point of that package is bad. Anyway, Paul Norman made a really impressive game here, pretty much single-handedly, and this thing has atmosphere for days. Especially for 1983. So we're going to launch this. We're going to try to play it. I'm not particularly good at this game, but I deeply respect what it traffics in and what it attempted to do. And we'll load our own version of Vice, why don't we? This is the C64.
This is not one I'm familiar with.
You will... I think you will take an interest in that. Please report your level of experience and personal skill by pressing down the appropriate key. Innocent Trooper, Daredevil, crazy.
This is like the style rating in a knockoff Devil May Cry type of game.
All right, let's press the fire button.
What did you pick?
I picked normal. Number 2, okay. F3. I'm gonna let this title screen play a bit while I dial in the volume.
Gotcha.
But from this screen alone... Actually, it did boot into the game at a certain point. That is us. That is our guy. We are an archer.
Ooh.
We need to fire arrows at all manner of enemies that occupy the Forbidden Forest. We have
Apples are coming in good this year.
Yeah, we have some parallax scrolling here. We have some ambient music, or not ambient music. This is like a orchestrated
mood
song.
Music.
It certainly it sets a tone. You can see there's some pseudo 3D as we turn.
Oh,
and we got
wow! Oh, holy shit!
There are unique death animations for every enemy that can kill you, and some of them get even more gruesome than that. There we go. I just realized I had some black borders around the screen, which were unnecessary, frankly. There we go. I got one. Oh, I keep forgetting that I need to put the arrow back, and I basically need to, like, re-nook the arrow, so it is like a double tap.
Bob Mayer says our guy has a lot of blood.
Okay. Ah! Yeah, see, it's tricky. I need to get better at this. And why not right now? This game being as impressive as it is to me. Genuinely, this is super neat. This is an early experiment in attempting to get across like a theme. So
often
tough.
Often considered to be the original
Shut
third-person
up.
shooter.
How did that arrow whiff? Okay.
It's a fucking all-you-can-eat buffet for these spiders out here tonight.
All right, knock that arrow. And whiff it, and good. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. There's more enemies beyond the spiders. You have to clear a wave of spiders first, and then you would move on to the next stage.
What if you put it on innocent? So just so we can, like, see some of those things.
I'll restart it if...
Big Bang Blitz says, getting good at this game is a profound feeling of progress.
Oh, here we go. Innocent. We'll go with innocent.
You start fighting rabbits instead of spiders. But it's the same death animation.
Yeah, they just chomp you to death. Real Night of the Lepus situation.
I think I think Night of the Lepus is funny because
it is. Yeah.
Not for concept alone, but for the fact that they were trying to hide what it was.
Why hide it? It's cool. Why contain it? It's cool. And that's a reference for some folk.
Like, if someone says to me like desperate, and I have the option to like continue that sentence with the word desperate, I will say your turn and then see if they catch on.
Come on now. There we go. That's 1. 2. Nah! Oh, wait. We're getting the heck out of here. If I can just get them off screen.
Hey, I just had an idea. Fuck this. God, it's always the ones to the right.
It's tricky to line it up. I mean, there is definitely a degree of skill involved in this game in terms of the timing. Oh, here it is. You get a little dance. They recreate this in the 2000 version too. It's not cool.
I was about to ask about that dance.
This is an iconic part of the game. They recreate this in the Squeakquel too, and Beyond Forbidden Forest, which is a more impressive game too, by the way. Not much iteration in terms of mechanics, a little bit, but this is still so perfect.
Like, put him next to the Karateka dance guy.
Yeah. Sorry to anyone who may have a bee phobia, but I'm gonna take a couple shots at this one on this screen. There we go.
Oh, wow.
I remember at least a little bit of this game. I remember a little bit of how to play this. Not much, but... And granted, we are playing on the easy difficulty now, too.
I'm kind of reminded of the game Not Archery. Or no, not Archery. Probably Archery. Which was one of those kind of gimmick... like in the wake of Surgeon Simulator, kind of like do a task that is normally easy in a video game, but make it too difficult as a joke kind of games.
Yeah.
If only because, like, you know, I think in most other games you would see of this era where you're a guy with a bow and arrow, you would just, like, you know, you point and you shoot the thing, and that's it. It's pretty simple. Here, it looks like you actually have to, like, take into account, like, where you're aiming in some degree of, like...
I'm going to try a quick save. I want to see if this works. Nope, no, it doesn't. When you use quick saves in this emulator, it just it fucks with the speed. That's a shame. I did want to get past that stage, the Toad stage, into, as Bob and Air mentioned, I don't know if you'll get that far, but I want to shout out the final boss in this for being absolutely terrifying. Yeah, this game is cool. This game goes places. I strongly recommend watching a long play of this and Beyond Forbidden Forest, or just playing for yourself. Giving it a shot, why don't you? Because I think this is genuinely an innovator. I think it's genuinely neat. I think Paul Norman was a genius for this one. So yeah, just genuinely cool. It can be very loud. The noises can be a little shrill. Despite that music being a banger, it can be a little on the grating side, maybe for some folk. But that was Forbidden Forest. Now we're getting into some notorious stuff. Now we're getting to some stuff that folk might be fleetingly familiar with from fortuitously through content creators on the YouTube front. Let's get into some Wizard video games. Why don't we? This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, now a video game. This is a game based on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie film. This was released March 14th, 1983, developed by one Ed Salvo for VSS Incorporated on behalf of Wizard Video Games, who are a distributor for the Atari 2600, who put out a few licensed tie-in games, a few original games, and very quickly went out of business. They tried to stoke some controversy with this Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, with a Halloween tie-in game, which we'll get to in just a minute, before they went out of business. It didn't catch on, but they were an early third-party studio attempting to get in through the licensed game. A bit of a misnomer about the studio is, like, they weren't selling their games on the shelves necessarily. You wouldn't see them next to a Pac-Man or E.T. on your 2600. You'd have to ask for these games by name, which is certainly going to limit your sales. If you have to ask for it by name, you have to be cognizant of its existence. If you couldn't just buy it by looking at a box art on a shelf necessarily. But, how are they to know that back then? Again, early days for the video game. Let's get this launched. Now, what do you expect a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game to entail, Charky, as if you don't already know?
Pac-Man. No.
Good guess.
You are... Okay. You're the person trying to run away from Leatherface.
Wrong.
Okay, you are Leatherface.
Bingo. We have a chainsaw. We can massacre. We need to avoid these objects, not get caught on them. Oh, God. The beeping is a little much. And there we go. We killed her. We just killed an innocent woman. I hope you're proud of yourself, gamer.
This is the censored version. I had to cut out the cursing.
This is annoying. She keeps...
I
keep trying to chase her, but then she jukes me in a way that I can't do anything about, necessarily.
Okay. The way that your chainsaw is the same color as your body.
2600.
Yeah, but no, when you have that chainsaw going, it looks like, imagine you had, like, both of your arms out forward, and then you were, like, miming, like, pedaling like a bike or something with your hands.
I'm trying to do shadow puppetry.
Like. Yeah, that's what it looks like you're doing.
Oh, dang, I got my head caught on a wheelchair again. I think the strategy here is to not hold down the chainsaw button. Just tap it when you're super close and hope that you can do the left-right game quick enough to catch up to them. But also having to watch out for these things is a... So yeah, the fuel is our life. There's nothing else that can attack us or damage us. We are the villain here, so... One of the first video games to have you play is what is decidedly, unambiguously, the villain of the piece. We do get a little fuel back when we manage to get a kill, so that is how you can prolong the game.
Are you just killing people who are running around with, like, jerry cans full of gas?
It must be. It's either that or our chainsaw runs on blood, which would be truly demonic, truly spooky. Ooh.
Now, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Haven't seen
it. No shit.
Also, no desire to see it.
Nah, the first one is creative. The first one is interesting. The second one is also creative, but in a very strange, completely different kind of way. But that first movie is definitely something... It's set out to say something, to show something, to prove something, and I think it does a fine job of that. It's not as gratuitous as you might think. Most of the violence happens off-screen, which is something that, anyone who is a fan of that movie would tell you, is a big talking point around it, but it isn't as gratuitous as you think it is, I can say.
Okay. But I'm not a huge fan of, like, slasher horror.
It's not that. It's definitely
I know.
Tension,
but
though.
I'm just saying that as a general point. That'll be more relevant for a game we're playing shortly after this.
Yeah, you don't say. And I'm just playing like a full playthrough of this, which is to say that I'm going to try to get as many points as possible. But there's only so much you can do. in this game. There's only so many options, so many strategies, and so many lives that you have.
Now, have you ever played the newest Texas Chainsaw Massacre game?
No.
The one that's the asymmetrical horror multiplayer game?
No, but I like these games that have been inspired by that Friday the 13th game. I like these wave of games that have... I know there's an Evil Dead one, too. And of course, there's that Friday the 13th game. And I guess there's also Dead by Daylight, which I never clicked for me, but...
There's also Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, God, that's right.
Yeah.
Why did that come out again? Why did they think that was a good idea?
Because every horror franchise has to be an asymmetrical multiplayer horror game now.
I guess so. Okay, I'll be happy to be done with this game. Oh, here we go. Kicked us right in the nads, and that's how you deal with a Leatherface. So we had to include that ending. Of course, I had to show that.
There should also be text on screen that says "crime doesn't pay," and that's how they get around, like, you know, advocacy groups trying to protest it, saying, "Oh, it's actually a message game."
Winners don't commit chainsaw murders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This did not set the world on fire. It didn't even, like, spark much controversy, honestly. I think there was some newspaper articles about Wizard and their business practices and the games they were attempting to put out, but I think ultimately, you know, did not get as much press as a Death Race got back in the day. I think they were hoping for something like that to happen, for protests to happen, and for that to lead to word of mouth, to lead to copies being sold, but that strategy just did not take. Which brings us to our next game, and the last game from Wizard Video, which by the way, Wizard Video was a VHS label that was putting out video nasties in the UK. They would publish those VHSs for the banned movies, and they would also deal like all sorts of like exploitation and horror films of that nature, which is how they got the licenses for these games in the first place. But the next game we're going to play from them is Halloween, which is also now a video game. The Game Where He Comes Home. This was released October 1983. This was developed by Tim Martin, he of Spelunker fame, the original Spelunker, and also Robert Barber, who also contributed to that in some capacity, as they were working for Micrographic Image, a studio they had founded, and they developed this on behalf of Wizard Video Games. I mentioned Tim Martin, I mentioned Spelunker. This is my excuse to link to our old Spelunker article on the Bad Game Hall of Fame. badgamehalloffame.com/Spelunker-NES. There we go. I finally got my practice out on that one. Or practice paid off on that one, I should say. So this is a guy who knew what he was doing. I think we cover Wizard Video story and this game a little bit in that article. But bigger and better things that man would go on to. Such as dodging me for interviews, such as not responding to my emails past a certain point. Anyway, Halloween. This was advertised in magazines. Did not do much to help them. The most successful horror film of all time is now a video game for the Atari video game system and Sears Video Arcade. Can you live through the night he came home? The boogeyman will get you if you don't watch out. That's the other thing, is that the manual does not mention Michael Myers by name or, what's her name? The lady who's in the Borderlands movie. Jamie Lee Curtis. They don't mention her character's name at all. They just call it The Boogeyman and The Babysitter. Because they had the license to the title and the concept, but apparently not the character names. Don't ask me how licensing worked back then. Anyway, if you know something about Halloween for the 2600, you're probably familiar with the fact that certain cartridges, a certain run of cartridges, it was meant to look like the one on the right, but a lot of the copies that are out there in the wild look a little bit more on the left. This is because while Wizard Video Games was liquidizing its merchandise at the end of the company's life, they were still trying to like push some units out the door. They had a surplus of Halloween cartridges, but they did not have the labels for it. So they would just get like a piece of white sticker paper, slap it on the cartridge, write Halloween in orange Sharpie. And yeah, so this had the knock-on effect of the stores that would put it behind the shelf or whatever that would offer these games on demand being like, this is so low rent, we're not even going to bother Dude, you're just giving us like your bootleg game right now, and you're going out of business, so there's no incentive for us. So if you find a copy of a Halloween that looks like the one on the left, you're probably getting scammed. You're probably just dealing with someone who burnt like a copy of the ROM and got their own piece of sticky tape. But there's always a chance.
People in chat are pointing out that this is basically the start of every creepypasta.
It was a spooky game that was never supposed to come out, but then it did. Ooh.
It was like I went to a game store and they had this cart that only had the word Halloween written on it in marker.
You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Sound of Halloween.
This is the official sound of October.
All right, here we are. There's Michael Myers, or the Boogeyman, as they call him here. Our goal
Where'd she go?
is to rescue the child.
I like how it starts over every time he enters the screen.
That's how you know he's coming, and rather than footstep sounds. All right, I need to remember how to get downstairs. Oh, never mind. It does loop to a certain extent. All right, if I hold down A, I keep the kid with us. Except,
lights are going out?
Yep. See, that's a moderately, like, intriguing idea. They were thinking. They were making an attempt here to incorporate elements of horror, of genuine horror, of taking this very limited technology and doing the most they could with it. Alright, dodged Michael. And that is part of the problem with this game, is that once you learn how to dodge, there ain't much to it.
Cross.
We do have a weapon now. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, that hurt. Yeah.
That's supposed to be a wire hanger, the one that Jamie Lee Curtis's character sticks in the eye of Michael Myers in the end
Now,
of
Halloween. Never seen it.
Of course.
I don't think I'd be opposed to seeing this one. Like, this is such a iconic one, I think. And also, I feel like it's not really that gory of a movie, right?
No, it really isn't.
Yeah, so that's fine.
So I think I need to get them to the other side of the house. There's a place where you drop them off for points.
It seems like she's having fun down there.
You want to see something fucked up?
Oh, you want to end it? You're gonna lose? Yeah, that's fucked. Whoa.
Dead kid. And what happens if we die? That happens.
Oh,
we
you're
run off
fine,
screen. We
though.
grow our head. It's okay. It's cool. We're like a starfish. We can just regrow. So yeah, that's pretty shocking for the 2600. Is this the first game where you can see a kid get killed? There wouldn't be many games that did that. Developers would certainly get shy away from doing that past a certain point. But ultimately, there's very little threat posed by Michael here once you figure out that dodge, that move there.
I was applying to work at a coffee shop a long time ago. This is like my early 20s, I think. And the application had a bunch of questions that were like kind of like personal questions, like what does this mean to you? What is your favorite lie? Like stuff that wasn't relevant to any sort of work stuff at all.
Sure.
It was all like personality fluff. And at the time, I probably still do, honestly, but I felt it all like unnecessary and just sort of like, this feels like a waste of time, like answering these questions.
Oh, it always is.
Trying to be a barista. So again, I was in my early 20s. So I decided to make every answer related to Shrek.
As
I
you
thought
do.
that was funny. So, and like afterwards, the manager, one-on-one'd me and went through all the answers.
Oh, boy.
Sat through and did that.
You hate to see that, folks.
And well, then he got to the one where
you said that you were a creature who lives in the swamp. Yeah.
Well, it got to the one where it's like, who is your idol? And I meant to put Mike Myers to continue the Shrek joke, but I put Michael Myers.
Easy mistake to make.
Accidentally.
We've all made that.
And he was like, okay, I want to ask you about why Michael Myers is your idol. And I had to explain. It's like, oh no, I really respect Mike Myers for his role as Shrek, and I refer to him as his full name. I'm not a serial killer.
That is Christian name, yes.
And you know what? I got that job.
Did you?
Yeah.
Pulled a speechcraft on him. Good for you. It's hard to pick up the kid here to get them to follow you when you can't see them at all times. I think this kid's toast. I think this kid's fucking dead. Yeah. Hey, it's your fault, kid.
Oh, he's a new kid.
Thank God this is a family with a lot of children. They won't miss a few of them. Ah, God.
Yeah. You know what they say, cheaper by the dozens.
So you can go up and down the screens. I don't know if it's even worth trying to explain like the gameplay, as if it's not completely self-explanatory in this particular one. But yeah, you're bringing the kids to the ends of the house where you can redeem them for points. God, stay with me, kid. There we go.
They seem to really get lost once you go into that room with the bad lighting.
It's just very hard to get the timing down. You need to be like vertically like right on top of them. But also, I think we've seen everything there is to see in this game.
Yeah.
So let's just
see that again.
We can see this again. We can see this one more time. She makes it a long ways without a head.
Yeah.
And let's lose that last life too while we're at it.
Oh, you know, there was that chicken who lived for like years without a head.
Yes, yes, I do recall that.
It's like that.
They do change the instrumentation slightly on this screen. Or at least for the first measure, they have the 2-channel sounds. 2 channels of music playing here. That's impressive. Yeah, that's Halloween on the 2600. It's fine. For what it is, it's very simple. It's very fleeting. It would have been shocking back in the day, to be sure, for whatever that is worth, which is not much. Just trading in shock value. I mean, it didn't do anything for fucking Custer's Revenge or any of those games, but you can at least see what would become, like, you know, elements of horror games later down the line. There was some amount of concept, as much as they were able to in this primitive era, that they were latching on the concepts that would become standards in the horror game. I closed out my show notes by accident. I've made a huge mistake. I gotta remember, what game did we just play? Halloween. Yep, so that would be 18.
Yeah, here's a hint. It's the game that went da 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 da.
Oh, okay. Nightmare on Elm Street, then. I almost put the Nightmare on Elm Street DOS game on here, by the way. I didn't bother putting the NES game or the Friday the 13th NES game on here.
We did just do the LJN Connection.
We did just play them in the LJN Connection. Please watch our LJN Connection series, where we play every LJN game and rank them. But that's not what we're doing tonight. We are playing a Friday the 13th game tonight, though. A different one. This is Friday the 13th, the computer game. Woo! This was released in 1986. It was developed and published by Domark across a range of home computers, most notably the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64. Is that the version of what we're about to play? Yes, it is. I prefer the Commodore versions of most games when compared between the ZX Spectrum version and that console, and that Commodore version, I should say. This is an interesting game. We've written about this before, not in full. We wrote about Friday the 13th on NES back in the day, which is a game that I do have some affinity for. But this PC game, not so much. I'm going to go ahead and link to our article in chat, baggamehalving.com/Friday-the-13th, or the-13th. Anyway, so we wrote a little bit about this game, but I have some quotation here as well. Actually, let's take it to the next slide first. Let me show the back of the box here, and some details of this game's release as per Crash Magazine, issue 23 in the UK, wherein they make a claim here that Domark based this game off of Friday the 13th Part 2 for a specific film. This is supposedly based on the second movie, despite the fact this came out around the time of the 5th movie, the New Beginning or New Chapter, whatever they call that one, New Blood. This was the game was revealed at a press event at Ye Old Cheshire Cheese in London, England. In the cellar of the pub, Dominic Wheatley, co-founder of Domark, burst through a solid door dressed as Jason and holding a cleaver, scaring the assembled journalists. So they wanted to make a bit of an impact on them to get across just how truly horrifying this game would be. And further to that end, a bit of a fun fact, this game came packaged with 2 capsules of fake blood that you could bite open so you could make your mouth look like it was bleeding for the Halloween season. There was also a trivia contest, a sound effect quiz. I think if we go back to the cover, I think it mentions it on there. Horror sound competition, as you see in the bottom left corner there. And the contest was you would write in on one of those survey cards and identify the names of the songs, of the public domain songs that they use as the background music in this game. And if you correctly identified them, they give you some sort of prize or enter you into a drawing for some sort of prize. 2 winners would receive quote-unquote ghost hunting trips in New York. So people did follow through and give them some sort of reward, some sort of flown out ghost hunting. This is the day before Ghost Hunters too, before Zach Baggins dominated the genre. So I wonder what that would have looked like back in the day. And for a final note, in a 1987 interview, Mark Strachan, the co-founder of Domark Studios, called Friday the 13th, quote, something I'd rather forget about, and blamed the game's quality issues on, quote, inexperienced programmers. So it's throwing those people right under the bus. And, it's not necessarily wrong to. This game is not good. It does not read like a Friday the 13th game. But I suppose we'll have to get into it to show that, won't we? I suppose we'll have to show the game. And this is one I will issue a proper warning for. This one has jump scares. This may be one of the first games of its of this genre to trade in jump scares. So we will show those at some point, probably, if I can tolerate this game long enough to get a couple of them to pop up. You have to play the game in a very particular way in order to allow those to pop up. This is another C64 game.
Now, was that one of the public domain songs?
It's the Screamer. Friday the 13th is a trademark of Paramount Pictures. Yes. Can I advance past the screen, or are we just waiting for it to load in the background? Do I need to swap which slot the keyboard is in and which one the joystick is in? It's always something with these sorts of games. That ain't it. Okay, spacebar. There we go. Friday the 13th. You and 9 friends are spending the summer holidays. You know what? I just realized that there's... Oh, no. God damn it. I was hoping to... I was going to put a little bit of... padding around the screen. The crop is a little too severe. There we go. All right. That's good enough. We accidentally skipped a couple screens there, but... Let's stay on task here. This is Friday the 13th. Can you find and kill Jason before he can kill you? We are playing as Gary King. There are a few different player characters you cycle through here, a few camp counselors, if you will. They have these little bios here. Jerry has a taste for adventure. He would never refuse to help anyone and is a natural leader. He uses his combination of strength and intelligence with great success. But what is his hidden weakness? There's no mechanics around any of that. It's just... It's flavor, and that's fine. You're allowed to have flavor in your game. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the music I remember. Let's lower that a little bit in the mix to be sure. Okay. Now let's remember how to control this game.
You have 1 dumbbell.
Oh, A and S are left and right. I need to figure out how to move up and down. You see that guy in black there? That was Jason Voorhees.
Oh, hey, Jason.
There's got to be keys for moving up and down here somewhere. I'm just going through every key on the keyboard until I find it. We got A and S. We got that down to a science. I think I may have skipped past... You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to restart this.
All right.
And I'm going to see if there was like a Kempston joystick option, or I know it's ZX Spectrum. This is C64, so it wouldn't be a that controller specifically, but there should be. Okay, and here's the screen we missed. You and 9 friends are spending the summer holidays at Crystal Lake Holiday Camp, miles away from civilization, unaware that Jason Voorhees has a filthy grotto close to the camp. At midnight on the first day, while unpacking, you notice a bloodstained mask, and with horror, you realize that Jason is waiting. Terrified, you must protect your friends from the marauding Jason and finally dispose of him before he disposes of you. So here's the thing. Jason goes undercover in this game in a way that he's never done in any of the movies because he's a mute zombie. But in this game, he assumes he looks like your friend, so you have to attack your friends to see whether or not they are actually Jason in disguise or not, which is an idea. Here are some of the characters, some portraits of them, so we can get used to these characters, to these people who will surely die soon.
Klaus Nomi in the upper right.
Okay. Can you do me a favor? Look up a manual for this, maybe, to see if there's like controls listed. And I'm just gonna keep on shuggling here until I can figure out. Oh, never mind. I got it. We're good. Okay. Now, just tell me, folks, if the volume is appropriate, because I know it's very loud in our mix. So here we are. We're playing as Jerry King. I found a weapon. If I move in a direction and use the fire button, it will attack.
We're married. Yay. Aww.
Weird music choices in this. So these characters, all the other counselors, move from screen to screen. They have their own routine, as it were. We can pick up... Oh. So one of our friends is dead. Ambugging says that they wish this was quieter. I can do that. If this is too loud, I can absolutely lower it a little bit in the mix, because I'm sure it is shrill, especially the screams. Hopefully this is a little better. Hopefully this is a little cleaner. Hopefully this is a little less abrasive. Let's get out of this place.
Bro, why did you throw a pickaxe at me?
Sorry, I had to tell if you were a hockey mask-wearing killer or not. Oh, it's all good. All's forgiven.
What are those lines? Are they filling up like a skull or something? You see those lines filling under your score?
Oh, yeah, so that is the spook meter, I believe. There are different meters there that indicate how scared we are. And when you are maximum scared, that is when the jump scares. Oh, there he is! That's Jason right there! We can only attack left and right, unfortunately.
It's just minding his business. Dum-da-dum.
Alright, fuck this weapon. It sucks. I'm gonna get that axe. You know, he also wants it by sight. Where are you, Jason? Are you Jason? Or are you just a friend? You're just a friend. Okay.
Like this friendly love tap with the axe.
We lost another one. You can't find good counselors these days.
Here, go test them.
There he is.
Okay.
All right, I got at least one hit on Jason. Now, they can damage us. The blue bars, the thing that looks like a dumbbell is our health. I can't see where I'm getting attacked from behind the shed, but there we go. I want to bait him to where I can see him. Come on, Jason.
Oh, yeah, just...
Got him.
You win.
That is a successful round. Jason is dead, but for how long? 7 survivors. We are now playing as Wendy Watson. Wendy is a shy girl who finds life quite a struggle. Always depressed, she has earned her nickname of Waterworks Wendy over the years. Her parents sent her to the camp to meet people. Little does she know she will meet her demise!
I know this would be too forward-thinking at the time, considering, you know, what, 3 of the films have been out?
Oh, I found Jason straight away by accident, by the way.
And now you're married!
You may now kiss the bride. You may take off his hockey mask if need be. Oh dear, you seem to have lost your head. What a shame. And it restarts. But I do want to trigger something here. I do want to do another attempt at this.
So, I was saying that I know this should be too forward-thinking, because I think there were only like 3 movies at the time, right? And certainly not the...
I think there were 5 entries in the series.
Okay, yeah. Maybe they could have had this thought by then. That I think it would have been neat if, like, every time that you start over with a new character, they frame it just as a new movie. like a sequel.
Yeah, that would have been too much for them.
I mean, they did say, like, Jason's dead, but for how long? Like, that's your sequel hook right there.
So what I'm doing here is I am attempting to kill the counters myself, which you can do. You can accidentally friendly fire your fellow camp counters enough that they do die. So I'm trying to make that happen.
Okay, Takata and Fugue. Okay, I'm partway there to a trip to New York.
So you see that skull filling out a little bit?
Yes.
At some point, it will fill out completely, and that's what lets you know that you're capable of being jump scared in the game. Let me see if I can get a projectile weapon, because so many of these weapons don't work.
Video Game King says that the public domain music, the instrumentation, the constant switching of leitmotifs coming together make this kind of like a silent film game. Like how they'd have like the piano player just
Charlie Chaplin
along.
is Jason Voorhees in. Alright, here's a house. This is where I generally get jump scared a lot. If I can get a few more kills. Oh, what's this little microphone looking thing? Oh, it's throwing weapon. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for.
You have a limited number of those, or?
No, as long as you're holding on to it. Oh,
hit yourself?
Someone else got.
Oh, no.
Oh, look at this spear. This looks a little better. This looks a little more promising. I'm going to scan this house room by room. You see these crosses?
Yeah.
Theoretically, if you bring the cross along with you, you can designate rooms as safe rooms. Try to bring the survivors there to keep them there. So there is like an element to the game of like, you know, trying to plot ahead and protect the counselors.
Jason Voorhees, famously an atheist.
Yes. No, the sight of it repels me. I'm just looking for anyone I can test to see if they're Jason or not. There we are. So again, the combat in this game is not the best.
It takes a lot to like be really, really punished for killing your friends.
Yes. I mean, it takes a lot to kill your friends.
I mean, you would get, if this was a Counter-Strike server, you'd get kicked out like way sooner than now.
Oh, there's Jason.
Well, you're not our target, Jason.
Yeah, please, Jason, get out of here before something dangerous happens to you, before you get hurt.
No, he's trying to beat you. He's trying to beat you to the punch. He's like, hey, that's
I'm
my
a more
fucking
effective
job.
killer
Get
than
out
Jason
here.
Voorhees is. Yeah. Oh, he's in the room with the cross, and I can't help but notice that he's still attacking in this room. So I guess that mechanic is broken. Good for him. Bad for me. It's unfortunate for me right now. I know we're still getting chased, but we're so close. I guess it's not a skull, by the way. I guess it is a hockey mask that we're filling out.
Yeah.
You know, if you have your blood capsules at home, this is time to insert them into your mouth and bite down hard now.
You are definitely just competing with Jason at this point, though.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You're winning.
It's a race. Yeah. Ah, dang it! I lost my target. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, oh.
You snooze, you lose, Jason. Come on, guy.
Is Jason the hero in this game?
He's trying to put an end to my reign of terror. Yes.
Yeah.
The role reversal. Oh, I can see him like switching disguises there too.
Yeah.
You can see him like switching between different character sprites. Jason
like
and his
going
wily
around,
bag of tricks.
Like going around a corner in TF2 and seeing a spy cloak.
I swear there's a reason we're still playing this, by the way. I just need to get that hockey mask.
You're so close. I can see, like, you have like just like 2 lines left.
I can smell the fake blood already. Let's check out the barn. Perfect music for this game.
Old McDonald?
Yeah. Hey, you know, you should write into that contest. Clearly, you got the knack for picking up on these songs. Everywhere a Jason, oh, Jason had a machete. E-I.
Oh. That would be extremely funny for like a Friday the 13th movie to have a thing like this where like the music is just entirely dependent on the scene location and not on the atmosphere
mood,
they're trying to
get. The narrative,
like someone,
the edit.
Yeah, like someone runs to a barn to hide and it starts playing Old MacDonald.
Come on, lady, die already, please. It's for a good cause, I assure you. She got away from me. Oh, there she is. And she's gonna flee into the house. Not if I can help it. This is kind of twisted. I mean, this is a game where you're meant to be a good person. This is not like Texas Chainsaw Massacre where you are decidedly playing as the villain, but you can still do villainous shit here.
It takes so much to make this happen, though.
But it's worth it. At least I know that all the survivors are in this house now. So as long as they're all clustered close together, and as long as I can get a few of these kills in, as long as this guy's running into a wall and not through the door that he could...
That mask is full as far as I'm concerned.
I think it should be. I think that means that we do qualify for the jump scares.
Oh, you qualify for a jump scare, okay.
It's not guaranteed, but as we go from screen to screen... Oh! Can I rewind? Will it let me? Can I just go from room to room with the full mask? I wonder if I need to go to the next stage to even get this stuff to trigger. But I swear to God, there are jump scares in this game. And I just don't remember how to trigger them. I mean, the GIF I posted for this to promote the stream tonight was, in fact, one of the jump scares in this game. I guess I'm going to try this again. I guess I'm committed to this. Yeah, no, I'm committed to the bit right now. I'll just kill Jason this first stage. Let's see what the game's supposed to look like. We're not just gonna
we already did see what the game's supposed to look like. You killed Jason already.
We'll do it again for posterity this time. All right, that's not Jason. That the little child is not Jason. How about this guy? Are you Jason? You're not Jason. Sometimes I wonder why people tune into these streams, and I remember they're just as sick as we are, Charkie.
I'm gonna go to Twitter and just see what the jump scare looks like myself.
It's one of several. There's multiple images in this game that can pop up as you transition between screens, and they are genuinely not shocking. I don't know if I'd rise to that word, but they are somewhat gory. One of them is a guy with a hatchet sticking out of his head and blood pouring out. That's not Jason. Where the hell is everyone? Have we explored the house yet?
Who the fuck is... Oh, God. Elon Musk's not looking too good these days.
Good.
Anyway, that's not relevant to...
Well, I see a dead body. That's Jason. We caught him in the act. We caught him killing one of our friends.
You sneaky little boy.
You sneaky Pete. All right, that's one. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. And it's an epic encounter, to be sure, here, that we're...
Why am I having such a hard time finding the account of the site that I, half of? Okay, here it is.
Come on.
Oh, I see.
Let's try the knife. Maybe the rapid fire option on this will, No, it's just gonna get us killed. If I try to use that. Back to throwing.
Oh my God. I log into Twitter, the first fucking thing I see, everywhere, is... I mentioned Elon Musk. Apparently, Trump is doing, a speech right now. I think it's in the same place where the thing happened to him.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk is on stage with him.
Oh, boy.
And there's a picture of him, Trump just kind of looking like his normal miserable self. and Elon literally jumping into the air with his hands raised up like an excited child.
Like the ending to like a buddy cop movie where they're high-fiving in the air.
Well, I saw someone else post a comparison of that and that scene from The Simpsons where, oh my god, I don't remember their names, but like the bully, the big like bully kid, like just kind of walking like Nelson walking like with like scowl on his face, and like Martin is like skipping around, singing about how they're friends and stuff.
Oh wait, I could actually kill people again. I think I can get that meter up. I think in the second level is where if memory serves, I think it should work now. And the problem is that we played as the first character, and he's not scarable in the way that Wendy is. I could be wrong. Alright, at least I locked into the perfect distance, so we should be able to get the skull up a little quicker this time. Come out, wherever you are, my friends. What is that, a chainsaw? Yep, that's a chainsaw, just like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're crossing the games here. I love to hear that chainsaw go vroom vroom. At least it's better than the sound effect in the 2600 game. You know, small miracles here.
Yeah.
Alright, now we're making progress. Now we got a couple bodies to our name. Jason got one.
Oh, now it's a race. Yellow fellow asks, "What the hell is this?"
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Obviously, you couldn't tell it's Friday the 13th from the fact that we're having to attack camp counselors to see if they're Jason in disguise, just like in the movie film. Oh, new song. Oh, not a new song, it's a public domain song, but, you know, it's new for this game. Okay. This is so not going to be worth it.
Oh, Frank Gothic says, looking at the GIF that you shared for the stream, the mask wasn't even 100% full at the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. There it is!
There!
That's what it was. It was all worth it for that, folks. We did it. That was a jump scare in 1986. Impressive stuff. Truly innovative. Very cool. Are you Jason? No.
My bad.
Whoopsie doodle.
I feel...
That was 7 skulls. Did you count them?
That's cute. I feel like if you end up killing, like, more counselors or, like, a significant number of counselors yourself, then when you cross through a screen transition, your sprite should become Jason. And then it's like, all right, finish them off.
You were Jason all along. You were the one who was in disguise. As Wendy, whatever her name is. Well, give us one more. Give us one more good scare before we move on to the next game, finally.
Use your, I don't know, Monster Hunter Greatsword or whatever the fuck that you're wielding right now.
I think it's a chainsaw. I think it's meant to be a chainsaw. Ah, there's Jason. Let's see if we can win. Yeah. He got some wonky pathfinding of his own, so there's a chance here. I was like, we took away most of his targets, so he only has us to chase now. In the immediate vicinity, so that should get his aggro up a little bit.
I like how he tried to, like, walk behind a haystack in disguise. He's not even trying to hide it now.
He is trying to hide it. I mean, he did disguise himself as one of the other people. And it is now...
Or he did it right in front of you.
It's not the most effective, but it was an attempt. And yeah, I've completely lost him. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Lost, but now found. Did I get him? I think I got him. 2 people, bonus 2,000 points. Convalescing from a nervous breakdown, Mandy is a computer programmer by trade. Alright, good enough. Good for her. That's gonna do it for Friday the 13th. I showed what I needed to show. I proved what I needed to prove there. All right, that brings us to our next game. This is a special one. Let me clear my throat real quick. Uninvited. Released 1986 for Macintosh, developed by ICOM Simulations and published by Mindscape. This is a game for your Apple Macintosh. For the old school models, the old black and white Macintosh. Not grayscale, this is black and white. This was part of the Mac Venture series, which included 1985's Deja Vu, 1986's Uninvited, 1987's Shadowgate, and 1988's Deja Vu 2, Lost in Las Vegas. Games built on the same framework of pointing and clicking, but Uninvited was the horror one of those. I'm more a fan of Deja Vu, personally, the original, but this is still a very cool, atmospheric game with some genuinely neat horror hooks in it. This game is on Steam, mercifully, because I did not want to get the Macintosh emulation set up. There is a collection of games on Steam, known as the Mac Venture Collection, or something to that effect. The Mac Venture series contains all those games I just mentioned. And I went ahead and bought a copy of this last night. I bought a key, not realizing that I already owned this whole collection. Whoops. So anyway, I have a spare key for this, so maybe hit him with a link to the Discord server. Maybe I will give this key away in the Discord server after the stream tonight. First come, first serve it. So you can play these classic adventure games for yourself. But we are here to play Uninvited, and that is what we're going to do, damn it. Let me get it launched through Steam. It's an interesting presentation on this collection here. This was released 2015, developed by Zojoy and published by Reverb Triple XP in 2015. And let's see it. Here we go. So the first thing you see is an option to play either the Apple IIgs version, which has full color, or the Mac version, which does not. The original Mac version, which is just the black and white. And that's the one I'm going to play, personally. I also got to make sure it actually shows the mouse, because this is actually a point-and-click adventure game, and it does actually pay to see the mouse here. There's no music to worry about here or sound effects. And this is how these games played out. They played out in Windows on your desktop, like this, on the original computer. I can scale this window in some ways. I wish it would just fix like specific resolutions. This package isn't perfect, but you know, it'll get us there. Good evening. You have been summoned as the Uninvited. Look out! The last thing you... Oh, it keeps skipping lines as I'm trying to scroll here.
How are you summoned if you're uninvited?
Look out. The last thing that you remember before the darkness rushed up to claim you is your brother's startled cry. You managed to swerve around the shadowy figure that appeared in the roadway, but lost control as the car jumped the shoulder and plunged headlong into this tree.
Dodging question, I notice.
What was the question?
How are you summoned if you're uninvited?
I think it's more to do with like your brother who lives in this home, who's just inherited this home. Is the ghost certainly didn't invite him. The people haunting the haunted house here. Swiveling your battered head, you survey the wreckage. You realize that you are alone. Your kid brother must have gone off to get you some help. As you pry yourself free of the steering wheel's embrace, you can't help but notice the pungent odor of gasoline as it leaks from the ruptured gas tank. So we should probably do something about that. Luckily, we have all the time in the world. Now, we could just exit the car, but I think there's something... Isn't there something you can do in here to trigger the car, like, exploding with you inside of it?
Now, Cass, I have to ask you something. I assume that I am seeing... What I am seeing is how you're seeing this game.
Yes.
How the fuck are you reading any of this? This is the tiniest window.
Let's try it like this.
No, I'm not saying... I was going to take your word for how anything sounded. I was asking you, how were you reading that?
I've got a specialize. Click to continue. There we go. Okay, I forgot to hit that button at the top there. We're in the car. Let's examine our surroundings. You sit the wheel of your car, the front of which is now wrapped around a large tree. You can hear the dripping of fluids as they escape beneath your vehicle. This auto is not going anywhere without a tow truck. Let's hit. Why so hostile? How about I hit the glass? The broken windshield is undamaged. Well, that's a little bit of not.
Well, that's not. Yeah.
Your windshield didn't survive the crash. Behind you can see the brick wall of a large mansion. Can I operate the car? Your dawdling has cost you your life and possibly the life of your brother as well. The cockpit of your car becomes a flaming inferno as gasoline-fed flames engulf it. Your goose is now very well cooked. So that's what happens if you fuck around. The game eventually has enough of you. So there we go.
I like your invento, as I just noticed.
Yeah, this again is maybe not the best presentation of this game. You might be better off playing any other version of it, especially the NES version.
Yes. Like, the NES version of this game is the one I'm actually familiar with.
Let's just get out of the car. You can't go through the door because it is closed. Let's operate the door.
It'd be extremely funny for you to die in the car because you forget to open the car door to leave.
Happens to the best of us. There actually was an explosion sound effect there. I didn't have the right mix on this, though, so no one heard it. The car does explode behind you, so there's no escape. Ooh. I'm not going to read all the text, but why is none of this audio coming through on the stream? I guess I'm going to close it. I'm going to reopen it so I can see if I can get this to work the way I want it to work. But yeah, the weird interface stuff. Weird, maybe I should just play the 2GS version. Maybe this will be a little smoother. Maybe the font treatment and stuff is a little better in this version. Yeah, this is probably the way to play it, isn't it? And I'm just going to scale it up a little bit so I can actually see and read a bit more of it. Yeah, so here's the full color version that came out a year later. Let's operate the door. Let me out of here. Go. There's the sound. Now it should be coming through. Now what I want to do is, there's a very specific death I want to get to here. This is an adventure game. This is a point-and-click adventure game, so... and it's one of these games where to operate the inventory, it just pops up extra windows on your screen. I'll take this piece of mail from the mailbox window and drag it into my inventory. This is how games used to play, and I think that's super neat.
Have you ever played the game Kingsway?
No.
It is came out in 2017. It is a RPG that plays with that concept, where you play the game on a fake desktop and everything is pops up in its own individual window. And if I remember correctly, it does things with that kind of play around with the idea of there's different windows interacting in different ways.
Yeah, there's also Pathways into Darkness, the original game by Bungie before they did Marathon. That was also made for Mac and has a similar interface. It's a first-person shooter with this kind of interface, which is...
Oh, there's a war game. I know Shane from Rerez talks about this game from time to time, I think, where it's a RTS or war game strategy kind of thing, but it has the different windows, but missiles will travel from one window to another window.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We read the Necronomicon, by the way, which has a list of spells in it. We're not going to get anywhere into what is cool about this game, what makes this game super interesting for a point-and-click adventure game. But we are going to get to see this. We opened a random door in this hallway, and a mysterious woman appears. She is dressed like Scarlett O'Hara, and she stands with her back to you. Well, hello, Mrs. You have gotten the attention of the mysterious lady. She turns to face you. Her face is devoid of any flesh. You are frozen with horror. She begins ripping your body into a bloody mess.
Say less.
And that's how you die in Uninvited. There are many ways to die in this game, but that is a classic. That is a classic video game death right there. And what is a classic video game? A classic Mac venture. That's all I really wanted to show. Honestly.
any something awful expats in the chat, who had that as their avatar? The NES version had that death screen. The NES version of the death screen, someone had that as their avatar. They were in the Let's Play forum, I think. Like, that is my association with Uninvited. Uninvited is that death screen, and someone had that as their avatar in the Let's Play forum.
I'm just looking at some of the other options here. Yeah, you can save your game, all the classic stuff that you'd have in the user interface there. But yeah, that's Uninvited. That's as much as I need to show with that. Again, it's another one of those games that doesn't lend itself well to this sort of stream format, but that I still recommend nonetheless if you're looking for a spooky point-and-click adventure game.
Right. And we are doing that giveaway for it in the Discord.
Yeah, we'll give away the key after the show tonight. But we still have at least a couple more games to get to. So let's get to them, why don't we? Including, or next on the list, is Ghost House, the Sega card. Ghost House. Incredible cover
Love
here.
Love it.
This is the cover to the game that you're purchasing.
Love Master System cover art.
It's a lost art, truly. This was released April 21st, 1986 in Japan, initially, and then September 1986 in North America, developed and published by Sega. So we'll get to this in a minute, but first it's important to establish that this game is a conversion, is an arcade conversion. And in the year 1982, Sega, in collaboration with Gremlin, put out Monster Bash in the arcades, pictured right is gameplay, pictured left is an arcade flyer. This is not the first horror arcade game. There's like, Death Race, obviously, but, this is also the same era as, like, Sinistar and Satan's Hollow, which we're probably doing more to be, like, actually effectively scary. To do, like, like with sampled speech in the case of Sinistar, and Satan's Hollow just being, like, very viscerally unpleasant to look at. But this is a game that had proper, like, monsters in it, like Frankenstein's monster and Dracula's and the likes. You play as Little Red, a 10-year-old boy who discovers 2 haunted residences in a graveyard in his neighborhood. An old man tells you to vanquish the monsters. Why doesn't he fucking do it? You must first light a candle that will in turn make a sword available to you, power you up, and allow you to kill them. Both the candle and the sword will only last a certain amount of time, and once expired, must be reactivated by walking across them. I'm literally reading this so I know how to play the game, so I remember how to play the game. I put the instructions there for my own edification, for my own benefits. So yeah, this is going to be the Sega Master System version of this arcade game from '82. It took them 4 years to bring it on home, and let's see if it was worth it. Let's see if it survived the transition from arcade to console. And with a cover like that, it can't fail. With a cover like what we saw.
Very Dawn of Sorrow Greatest Hits edition kind of cover.
Well, you haven't thought about that in a minute.
When they re-released those DS Castlevania games for modern things recently, they really should have just added on to that, like, spiral, like made the cover for that have the have the DS cover of the DS cover on there.
Yes, that would have been the right way to do it. You're gonna give me a second here, by the way, while I gauge why this letterboxing is here. 74 pixels off the right, I can do that, and 74 off the left while I'm at it.
Are we in demo mode here?
Yeah, this is demo mode. Let's play it though. Let's get into it. That's gonna have to be good enough on the crop job there. Yeah, that looks right. That looks correct on OBS. There's 2-player. I'm just gonna do this single player. Oh, there is flashing in this. I guess I should have been a bit more cognizant of that, a bit more aware of that. But warning in effect.
Yeah, even though we kind of already saw it, but still, we'll see more of it.
We have 2 buttons on this controller. We have punch and we have jump. What more do you need? Can I crouch? Yes, I can. Alright, so killing enemies, there are items that drop. Can I punch this guy's lights out? No.
This is definitely like Alex Kidd's golf cousin.
Oh, there's holes in the floor. I hate it. And doorways we can go inside of.
I hate those too.
But yeah, you take one look at this, and this reads like, not necessarily a horror game as we think about it, but you can see the horror elements, obviously. It's as scary as Castlevania is. Maybe a little less, even. Oh, I got stuck in the spider web there, and then I got killed. So clearly I'm not an expert at this game by any stretch, but it is an important one in the annals of this little subgenre, of the horror genre in video games. What was the objective again? I think I'm killing Dracula somewhere, or Frankenstein's monster.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a monster bash. You gotta bash monsters.
And mash buttons to do so, if it were a monster mash. It sucks getting stuck on those cobwebs and then falling through the floor. Oh, you can actually see, you see that double brick there? That's how you can tell that there's... So it's not completely blind. Oh, I used the key to open up that...
Oh, and now you have to fight the Dracula that is inside.
I probably should have had that sword or that weapon that got mentioned in the description before I chose to pursue this battle. That's a flashing light, all right. How do I get a weapon? How do I defend myself against this vampire here?
How do I get out of the situation that I put myself in?
How do I unring the bell that I rang there? I think we reached the end of the house, like, because we reached the end of the scroll there. Let's keep going down. Maybe there's something in the basement here. So, you know, Castlevania not on this stream.
No.
Because, you know, everyone's seen Castlevania. Maybe less people have seen this. Perhaps. Just by measure of... Oh, I think I got another Dracula.
You did it again. I just see a coffin and I gotta open it.
I gotta know.
It's a sickness. I don't know.
For God's sake. Yeah, I'm not doing a great job showing this off, am I? You know, in my defense, absolutely inscrutable 80s game. Maybe the arcade version of this has, like, you know, a nice little, like, tutorial bit at the beginning that explains exactly how to play the game. More so than that weird little text blurb I lifted from somewhere.
Mr. Taco in chat says, I should mention that the Brazilian version of this is reskinned to be an El Chaplin tie-in, or what seems like a kid version of him. And yeah, they posted in the chat the box art, and yeah, that's just a little guy in a bee suit.
Oh yeah, that El Chaplin. Okay, yes.
Yeah, the game's called Chaplin vs. X Dracula. The dark. I'm sorry. Wait, let me do this.
In the great tradition of just random characters versus Dracula.
Chaplin cross Dracula, duello asustador.
I'll be honest, by the way, I just hate games like this. I have a natural predisposition against games that are, like, maze-like in this way, that have you going through doors to see the other sides of buildings. Like, I can appreciate what they're trying to do with, like, 2D space here. They're trying to maximize it, but I can't navigate this stuff. I can't keep track of this stuff to save my life. So
not a fan of, like, the Goonies 2 or anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. I'm also not a fan of the next game we're going to play tonight, even though I admit that it is, like, somewhat innovative, interesting, maybe even a good game, but I give it no consideration for some very simple facts of its design. I don't think we're gonna make it much further in this. I think I can keep getting killed by Dracula if I wanted to, if that's compelling viewing, if that's what people want to see. But I think more people probably want to see us move on to the next game, because they want to see us wrap this night up at a certain point. So yeah, that will do it for Ghost House. Not the most definitive look at this game you'll find, probably, but hey, we never claim to be experts at these games. We're just experts at streaming. Thanks for watching, folks. Thanks for sticking with us tonight. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the penultimate game tonight, which is going to be Dr. Chaos. This was released June 19th, 1987 for the Famicom Disk System. This was developed by Marionette Co. and published by Pony Canyon. That's that Pony Canyon. You may know this better. The Japanese name Dr. Chaos is one thing, but you might know it as Dr. Chaos. Released in North America for the NES, November 1988. We a while back streamed a game by the name of Yakata no Goblin, which was an adaptation of the movie Goblin. And it was developed by the same studio, and this game is sort of the successor to that, despite not having that film license anymore. We also streamed that game. I mentioned it because we streamed that a while back. There's an old stream, which I did with Rainey Baker, R.I.P., where we played that game, where she had taken an interest in that game and got me hooked on it too. And so I played Dr. Chaos for the first time around that time when I was researching for a potential article on that Goblin game. But anyway, that's all beside the point. Let's look at an advertisement for this game that would have that would have printed in North American magazines. Do you dare open the doors to doom? Dr. Chaos.
In case you didn't see it the first time, underneath that, do you dare open the doors to doom?
Thrilling graphics. Thriller graphics is one of the selling points of this game. So yeah, let's play it. Let's see what this is. Is this the first NES game we've played tonight? Did I put off the NES long enough to
I think this is, yeah.
All right, let's take a look. I know we mentioned we paid lip service to Castlevania at the very least. Did I have anything I wanted to? No, okay, cool. All right, let's get this launched then. You can certainly hear it, I'm sure. Cool title screen. If we linger around here, you can see the doctor from behind the windows as flashes of lights. Yeah, there we go.
This is a game I'm familiar with by name. I'm sure once I see it in motion, I'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. But it's not one I'm very intimately familiar with.
Looks a little bit like this. Is this familiar at all to you?
Yeah. Yep.
Our protagonist looking like a classic NES protagonist.
I had to figure out what he was doing with his arm, because I realize now he's just kind of holding it to his side, but I thought he was like putting his arm behind his back. Oh, yep. This is what I remember about Dr. Chaos. Yeah, I was talking about Goonies too.
Sure enough. So this is... I gotta remember how to cycle through the inventory options here. Nothing there.
Done. Nothing there.
There is a way to operate the menus here. So moving left and right obviously takes you, like, you're rotating around the room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's you hold down the B button, then press up and down. So let's start hitting stuff. Can't go into the closet. But I should be able to grab that goddamn gun this time, right? Here we go. This is one of those awful games where there's a lot of, like, hidden doors and walls on these screens. So, like, half the game is just, like, figuring out, like, what weird pixel you need to hit on these screens, what object you wouldn't usually hit that you have to hit this time around to get the game to do what you want it to do. And then the other half is item collection. And we got knocked into the room again. But this game also has jump scares at a certain point, which I'm hoping to trigger a couple of.
I have no idea why Google would think that I do not want information on The Goonies 2, the game, when I type in The Goonies 2.
Get that.
Anyway, I was trying to see dates. I've closed the document.
That's
I
quite
did the thing
all right.
you did earlier.
You have to open each of these cabinets one by one. You can end up in complete different parts of the mansion by, like, going through the rooms. Like, they interconnect like a maze at a certain point. There's also, like, what we're trying to find, if I recall correctly, are not just these guns, but we are trying to find, basically, hidden dimensions, pocket dimensions, or worlds that are connected to this house into the titular Dr. Chaos's experiments.
Okay, I find this interesting. I wanted to know when Dr. Chaos came out relative to The Goonies 2. Same year, just like a couple months apart.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me somehow.
I mean, I feel like that's definitely not enough time for them to Pony Canyon or the developer of this specifically to look at the Goonies 2 and go like, oh, we should base a game around that.
Rip that off, yeah, please.
Because there was like 3 months, so they had this like concurrent idea of like, oh, this platform where you go into rooms and you have a menu that has like hit and grab and all that stuff.
It's also so hard for me to keep track of what direction do we come in through, what door do we go in through. But that's a problem. That's a me problem that I've always had with and will always have with these games. Here we go. I accidentally found one of the worlds finally. That house is basically just a hub. This is where it becomes more like a video game. With music, and scrolling, and monsters, and levels and such. Let's switch to the gun, since I collected so many bullets for it. There's also grenades, and the submachine gun you get later. I think these aren't just like straight A to B affairs either. I think there's also like hidden stuff in these pocket worlds that you need to do to get like the correct items, the end game items you need. Classic NES crypticness.
Johnny Baghead says, it's kind of funny how often 2 very similar games were released a month or 2 apart. I always thought Cold Fear was trying to rip off Resident Evil 4, but they came out 1 to 2 months apart.
Nope, I missed my jump there, which means I have to stay in the bottom level.
I also feel like that would be a thing lost on, especially in this case, would be lost on North American audiences. Because according to the stuff I
have to go all the way back. That's brutal. Sorry.
Anyway, according to the stuff I found here, yeah, The Goonies 2 came out in North America in tail end of 1987, and according to our show notes here, Dr. Chaos came out in 1988 in America. So yeah, American players probably see this and think like, oh yeah, this is just ripping off The Goonies 2, when they came out like right next to each other in Japan.
Yeah. Entirely possible. Like a Rambo and Link's Adventure situation,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to think of, and I couldn't place it.
Stop hitting me. Let me jump. Let me get across this. Let me get to the end of the stage. Into this boss fight.
Oh no. He's so menacing.
Oh, but I take damage. I take damage for those grenades, regardless of where they are on screen. That's fucked.
Oh, I guess he is pretty menacing.
No, thank you. Let's see if there's a way, if there's a will or a way for me to kill this guy without killing myself, without throwing so many grenades that I have like no health effectively. Yeah, this is how I expected to.
Yep.
We have one of the pieces of the device that we need. And here's how you get your password. You can continue your game. And now all the way left again.
Oh, God. No mercy.
At least this time I can just go down. Who cares? I would like to experience one of the jump scares here, which requires going back into that first-person mode. And basically going from door to door until something happens. And I would like to show that at least once, because we committed to Friday the 13th long enough to see a couple of those, so...
Yeah, just walk around until you find a woman dressed like Scarlett O'Hara.
Yeah! Mrs. Chaos? Well, don't mind if I do. How do you do, ma'am?
Miss Dr. Chaos, I presume?
Yeah, I don't love platformers like this. I just never have, never will. But I can at least admit that this one is doing some neat things. It looks nice, for one thing. It's pretty expansive, pretty large world. These sections are at least novel if they're not, the best implemented. They at least tried. Let's see.
Dragonmorph says, this is the one where there's a weird rumor it's based on the 1985 movie House, isn't it?
Well, that's Yakuza no Goblin, which is the game they previously did, which is explicitly based on that. And I think they had some ideas in this. Like, there's like a soldier guy who looks like the main antagonist of Goblin, who is like the guy from your Nightmares, from the main character of that movie's Nightmares. Oh, so that little device there, it's showing us that something is nearby. Possibly the hidden entrance to the next level. Or maybe right here? Yeah, this would be.
I want to imagine your
like
guy.
This. Yeah.
I want to imagine your guy like Adam Drivering his way through these rooms, just like running up against the walls and just pounding all of them with his fist.
There are some like ones where you straight up have to hit the walls and then you just like bust a hole in the wall. No indication, no cracks in the wall to indicate like there would be anything for you there. Yeah, that's why I'm just instinctively hitting all the walls, because I know there's one of them. But what I really want to happen is, what can happen if you're just opening random doors is that sometimes monsters can come out of either the doors or the closets. And I'm hoping that happens.
What was that monster movie with Howie Mandel?
News to
me.
He
was the monster. He was the monster in it. I think it was called like Little Monsters.
Go, get it.
Yeah, Little Monsters. That was it.
That's the door we came in through. That's must be the door on the other side. Got bullets for days, though.
I feel like you had to have seen Little Monsters somewhere. Not the movie itself, maybe, but like pictures of it.
Like a poster of it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That was an example of a jump scare, by the way. That they chase us out of the room immediately, and now we're into combat with them. Not the most intimidating enemy I've seen. And I think if we just go inside this door... Wait, nope. Nope, they actually made so we couldn't go through that door anymore until we took care of them. That wasn't the monster I was hoping for. Yeah. Let's see it one more time.
Sure.
Let's see the scare, because it happened very quick. It happened as quickly as this. There it is.
Yeah.
There are more intimidating enemies than that guy. Yeah, I think I can't actually go anywhere or do anything until I take care of this dude. Yeah, there we go. And that frees us up to be able to continue traversal. I want to turn around again. This is the door that they were guarding, which doesn't do much for us, unfortunately.
Anyway, I gotta show you a picture of Howie Mandel from Little Monsters later, because he looks like one of the comic relief henchmen they add to a Power Rangers series, but only in the North American version, right? Like one of the guys who shows up to like mess with the Rangers.
Yeah,
you know what? He looks.
There it is.
He looks like if
that's a more effective scare. And this is the guy that looks like he's from Goblin. The reference to Goblin there, that soldier fella. There we go. We got it. I got what I wanted to show off there. So this enemy's coming through doors. It's like that scare in Resident Evil 1. The one time the zombie actually goes through the door as you're trying to go through it. You know that one? In the kitchen?
Sure.
Sure. Anyway, yeah, that's a quick look at Dr. Chaos. That's the bit I wanted to show that I thought was most interesting about this game. That and the fact that you have to hit walls, random walls, to figure out how to progress in the game.
Sorry, but, I was still thinking about Howie Mandel looking like the Skull from Power Rangers got into the machine from The Fly with Sully from Monsters, Inc.
It's very specific. Oh, there he is again. I think the way you trigger the monsters, by the way, is by just like going around in circles while there's open doors. I think the idea is that they sneak in behind you. So if you're reckless or going around in circles, I think that's what triggers them. But that was Dr. Chaos. There's obviously more to that game than we can show here. Again, as is the case with so many of these games. But an interesting one, a frustrating one, a difficult one, a challenging one, but an interesting one nonetheless. And that ultimately is the key thing to me. That's what matters to me. Which brings us to, speaking of interesting games, Our final game tonight. This is one I only discovered yesterday when someone in chat recommended it. I don't remember who recommended this. Whoever was in the Discord that turned me on to this game. Thank you. And you'll know the game soon when I bring up this slide here. This is Soft and Cuddly for the ZX Spectrum, published by The Powerhouse. This was released September 1987. It was developed by one John George Jones for The Powerhouse, who, if that name seems familiar to some of our longtime fans, perhaps readers of the site, is because they are responsible for publishing none other than the infamous Squidge for the ZX Spectrum, the worst ZX Spectrum game by some measure.
By the way,
very much associated with that name and that infamy.
I do want to say, I believe it was I Am Headful who recommended this game.
Thank you, I Am Headful, for recommending this game. I'm going to quote myself here. I'm going to quote my own article, badgamehallofame.com/squidge, just to describe who the Powerhouse were, and to give a bit of context for this very strange game. I mean, this cover alone is certainly intriguing, especially for 87. When the British microcomputer boom hit big, it came as a boon to software publishers across the nation, across the whole of Europe even. It was a movement which emboldened a generation of enterprising bedroom coders who realized the potential to profit off of their hobby projects. Publishers, in turn, realized their own potential to profit off the labor of literal children, and quickly established divisions for contracting these code-writing wunderkinds as quote-unquote game developers. One such label was The Powerhouse, formerly branded as Omega Software, serving as the budget branch for London's CRL Group, Computer Rentals Limited. The larger company would eventually rise to some level of infamy for publishing the horror-themed text adventure titles, including Dracula, Frankenstein, and Jack the Ripper, which were horror games in their own right, horror text adventure games, which we didn't show off tonight because it's not the most visually stimulating thing in the world. But these games, which ultimately saw the British Board of Film Censors stepping in to rate them as unsuitable for consumers aged 15 and under. So here's a publisher that has a history publishing games that were pushing the envelope, in the form of text adventure games, admittedly, but they thought to themselves, what if we did a proper video game, one with graphics and presentation? What if we found a kid who's willing to get a little horrific? In one more note, you may notice in the top left corner of this particular cover, free audio track by HEX. So the ZX Spectrum games came on cassette, right? And so one side of the cassette would be the data for the game. The other side could be a song. HEX, House Electronic Experience, spelled with an X, is the musical project of one Wayne Allen, who was buddies and/or bandmates with one of the Powerhouse's head honchos, Andy Wood. An arrangement was reached between the two entities where Andy would tack on Wayne's tracks to the unallocated space on their game cassette releases, serving as a mutual bit of cross-promotion. Wayne would get his name out there as an artist, and the Powerhouse could boast a variety of eclectic musical accompaniments to a number of their various games. So different games you'd get from this publisher, different budget games, would have different songs by this HEX group, which was a novel concept, a novel marketing gimmick back in the day. Didn't do the Powerhouse much good, but they were on the radar to a certain extent, that if you were a enterprising bedroom coder, the Powerhouse would be one of the companies you submitted to. And that's how the story of Squidge comes underway. But let's focus on Soft and Cuddly for now, and on one John George Jones. Here is a page from the issue 64 of Sinclair User, published October 1987, around the time this game was published. Prior to developing Soft and Cuddly, John George Jones had released a previous game called Go to Hell in 1985, also for the ZX Spectrum, I believe. This article here is an interview conducted as part of their Code Talk segment. You can also read the scan here. You can read the entirety of this issue, and most issues of Sinclair, of Year Sinclair, and all the other British mags. They're pretty well documented on worldofspectrum.org here. But to quote just two exchanges from this Q&A. Question: whatever possessed you to write a game like Soft and Cuddly? To which John responds, I didn't write the game because I'm a horrible person. I wrote to amuse myself. I love the reaction people give. I can't stand nice, inoffensive things. The original version of the game was even more gruesome. There were babies being torn apart rather than stretched, and there were sheep that were bouncing up and down on corpses, to quote him. So he had even more vile ambitions for this. He wanted to really push the envelope. in terms of some of the presentation. We will see that in the final product. It's still pretty severe for what it is. It's still pretty impressive for the ZX Spectrum. But one of the last questions here, and this one is just funny to me, the question response. Question, how long do you think you'll be interested in computers? Answer, I've already lost interest. Most of the people who use them are boring. Hackers are just totally sad. Soft and Cuddly is for people who are bored with the other lousy games and want something new. So, a troll, true to his heart, John George Jones was fucking with people back then. Good for him, I say. And this is an interesting game he has to show for his brief time in the industry, or I assume brief time. I mean, he said he wasn't interested in computers anymore, so I'm just going to take him at his word for that. And let's get this up and running. Let's get a ZX Spectrum game up and running on the show, why don't we? It may take me a minute.
Ooh.
Incredible title screen. Do I want the 1x1 or the 4x3 on this one? I think I want the 1x1, yeah. So, gripping title screen straight away. You really don't see graphics this detailed on the ZX Spectrum. Like, first things first. So this is already pretty damn impressive. May not look it now to the untrained eye, but they were cooking. Oh, no, that's
Whoa!
Whoa! Okay,
You're playing Mahjong Solitaire for a second.
All right, if I hold down the start button on my controller here, I have some binds here. This is not the best font choice, but you can see that the controls here are X for up, R for B for left, T for right, and one lie LS. Let's switch this over to Kempston. There we go. And this is a weird option in this game. This is not like part of like a crack. It gives you an option for a silly walk. Which, yeah, I want the silly walk. Give me the silly walk. And here we are. This shot pattern looks very much like the one from Squidge. I wonder if that was like a recycled asset of some sort between Powerhouse releases.
In my point of reference is that it looks like the Fender to me. That shot pattern.
Oh, yes, yeah. What? So we have a certain amount of health that quickly drains when we collide with objects that we're not meant to collide with. Look at that fucking thing. And look at these random letters and numbers. 61082D 1871. I think it's supposed to be like born, died.
Oh. And yep, that's it. Born 1802, died 1871.
Interesting assortment of enemies.
This is like... Okay. I have two things that I think this feels like to me.
Lay them on me.
The first is that this almost feels kind of like a Hong Kong 97 in a way.
And that was just deliberately made to like upset, provoke, or
yeah, done that. The guys like kind of like devil may care attitude about it and being like, fuck computers, The other thing this reminds me of is whatever that was. This feels like the video game that a kid in middle school would like draw in his notebook
with a doodle, like the concept art for it, and then somehow it actually came to pass.
He would doodle all the levels and like, oh my god, okay, there was this show when I was a kid.
I think I took a lot of damage there.
I cannot remember the name of the show, but it was one of those kind of video game show kind of things. It was not Nickercade. But one of the things they had on there was like, if you sent in an idea for a game, like they would actually make it. You could go on the show and play it yourself. And it was like, it would be the simplest ideas possible that they could, churn something out. But some kid, this is definitely something, some kid in middle school, some edgy little fucking middle school would like, would have sent all of this in, all of these pages of all of these rooms to this show and like, for some reason, they went like, all right, yeah, we'll make it, sure.
Well, we gotta do it. We made a promise that we were gonna make their game. I think I lost all my lives there. Tricky game. As so many of these games are, some of these manic minor likes. Let's turn off the silly walk. Let's see if that changes anything. Doesn't appear to. I don't see any difference here.
Well, you're falling, not walking.
Well, you have a jetpack. I'm just trying to get to where I was. at this current juncture, because there were some interesting faces that I want to see more of.
Magic Meow says, from the pages of David Jaffe's notebook, age 14. Yeah. David
Look at
Jaffe,
this
rather.
shit. Die,
Die,
you
die.
die, you die.
Also, this game is on Spreader's resource.
God
of
damn
course
right.
it is.
Look at that thing up there that is
That
like,
sheep, which was born in 1802 and died in 1871, that was a long-lived sheep.
that was a bad year. Huh. You don't see that every day, that's for sure.
Uh,
Yeah, there's
You know
something
how
like
people-
subversive happening here. Oh, you go ahead, please.
you know, people will look at something and say, like, I'm sure this means something, right?
Oh, none of this means anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I'm
none
sure this means nothing. Like, I look at that room and I'm like, yeah, that means nothing.
But it looks cool.
Yeah.
It's someone's idea.
It would get someone's dander up.
As I navigate from screen to screen.
By the way, I don't think we've talked about, like, the conceit of the game, like what you're essentially trying to do at all.
Your mother, the android queen, has been badly damaged in an accident. Your father has been locked in a fridge with evil spirits by your mother. You must find the 8 spirit keys and exchange them for information about where the various parts of your mother are hidden. And then you get those pieces of your mother and you sew them back together. That's what the game is about.
Yes.
Of
So I'm
course,
assuming
obviously.
My assumption was that was the android mother down there on that screen. Well, maybe that's just... Who knows?
I couldn't get past that in time. I can't do much in this game. I can just sort of gawk at it and be like, isn't this impressive? Isn't this neat?
Also, if anyone in Twitch or in the YouTube comments knows what quo vegan means, let me know. I'm very curious why that is everywhere. Again, could be one of those means nothing things, but when I tried Google searching, it was only results about Soft and Cuddly.
Actually got away with a rewind there, so I can cheat a little bit at this. Not much. I also only have so much life left, but there's 256 screens in this game, by the way. 256 different screens you can go onto with unique graphics on them, unique layouts. I think we saw 16 of them, so that's about as much.
Elvis the Culture Advisor says, this is the most maximalist specky game I've ever seen.
It's certainly, yeah. No, I think that's accurate. I think that's an accurate descriptor of it. And again, 1987, this was not some sort of, like...
Thank you for the raid, Sasquatulus. Interesting screen for y'all to show up on.
Yeah, and especially an interesting time because we're just closing out of this game, too, at the moment. I think we're just wrapping up the stream, unfortunately. But, you know, the timing, it's Twitch. What can you do? I'm sure we've rated you like a dozen times just as you were wrapping up your show, too. So
yeah, anyway, just we're working on our VTuber avatar. So this is what we got right so far.
This is what we have so far. We're going to make a PNG tuber out of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the little guys on the left and the right.
Yeah, we'll find someone to occupy that center slot too. We'll find someone too who can put spikes in their hair and do the gimmick properly. Do the gimmick, commit to it truly. That was Soft and Cuddly, and it was anything but, if you ask me. And yeah, that was the last game I had planned for tonight. But you know what? Just as a little bit of a bonus treat. Just as a little.
I know you've been wanting to play this.
Yeah, I just want to play like a fun one. Let's just go out on a note where I'm happy, where I get to play another good game. It's good for my mental health sometimes, just to remind myself that not every game is bad. And let's play what is one of my favorite horror games, personally. Once I figure out. I wonder if anyone can tell this is just from the audio. I'm sure there's got to be a few folk in chats.
Oh, I can tell what it is. Because I'm looking at it.
Unfortunately, this is not the 360 version, but this is Splatterhouse, which I think is one of the finest, one of the only good beat-em-ups. 1988. And this game takes the aesthetics that we saw in some of the earlier games, some of the very primitive ones, and fleshes them out into something that is truly grotesque, that truly stuck in the minds of players. And I like this whole series. The third one with some really cool digitized sprite stuff in it. Some really creepy lose conditions and alternate routes you can go through. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever played the arcade version of Splatterhouse. I definitely played like the Genesis versions.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
I did play Wanpaku Graffiti as well, which is fun. I've wanted to do that on the show, but it's not a bad game. It's just weird. But
yeah, because
I remember,
this also isn't bad by any metric. This is actually exceptional.
But I remember as a teenager, I legally acquired a ROM of Splatterhouse 3 for Genesis, but it was like a hacked version that I wasn't aware, because it had like a crack screen at the start like you get for a lot of old like home computer kind of games.
Yeah, console rips used to have those at a time. Game Boy Advance games used to have those cracked rows, yeah.
And on that, intro screen, along with your cheers and jeers, it also had like cheats you could enable, because like the person who did the hack like straight up said in the notes there, like, hey, this game's fucking bullshit hard, here's some hacks if you want to actually beat it.
They're not wrong. Oh, and if you take too long, the miasma comes after you from screen left. I love the soundtrack in this game, among many things about this game. I used to be obsessed with this game. There was a West Mansion website that chronicled all of like the Splatterhouse news for a while, and there was not a lot of it, needless to say, past like that Genesis game until the time that reboot was coming out. Then it was a whole kerfuffle around that, a whole controversy around that.
I really want to play that. I will say, I might have played this game actually. I might have played this specific version. I just don't remember it. Definitely never played it in arcades, but I must have played like a home conversion of this or something. But I really like the set pieces that they set up, particularly for like, I guess what you would call boss encounters, like the one you just did.
Oop, I was facing the wrong way. I'm playing this with an analog stick. I should be playing this with my D-pad. That would honestly work out a lot better for me. Oops. Well, that's my own damn fault. I walked into an acid pool.
What I was also going to say I've always wanted to play that 360 Splatterhouse game.
Oh, it's awesome. It's not good, but it is awesome. It has an awesome soundtrack. Love me some goat horror, to quote the main character of that game.
Yeah, that is one that we want to stream, but there's copyright issues.
Yeah, and the music is so essential to what that game is, and to play it without music would not work for me.
Like that, I'm reminded of like that Guardians of the Galaxy game, which was really good. I assume you never played it.
No, of course not.
Yeah, but it was a really good game. But like the music was like really integral to like the entire game. In fact, there were scenes that like revolved around the music. But they have like a streamer mode in there. So if you want to stream the game, you can do that, and it takes up the licensed music. To the extent that they had to change how certain levels work, because by removing the music, it changed so much of the game that they just had to change parts of the game.
I'm doing awful, by the way. This is not going well, Charky. I'm embarrassing myself in what a game that I ostensibly like. Never said I was good at it. I said I like it. It's always my excuse. It's always my go back.
I like plenty of games that I'm bad at.
Oh, thank Christ.
Oh, and you broke your legs falling down.
Oh, no. It's like that scene in Castlevania where Simon falls down the hole. No, give me the... There we go. The sound design is so immaculate in this game. There's a J2ME version of this, by the way, that I also played. That's not the ideal way to play this. And neither is the PC Engine version, but that version is at least fine. Compared to a Java phone version.
Oh. Trust me, I'm kicking your ass under here. You just can't see it.
Fuck. I put another coin in. I can't remember if this game actually lets you continue from where you...
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I don't remember this being a game that lets you pick up from where you left off.
No, there we go. It is going to start us off at the beginning of the stage, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny Baggett mentioned that the story behind Splatterhouse 2010 is wild. Yes, it is. That's one of those ones that I really wanted to write an article about, just because the story is so convoluted and so many people are making so many bad decisions on so many fundamental levels. But, again, maybe if we find some way to stream that, if there is some road that leads to us, if I have to swap out every Goat Horse song with MIDI equivalents, I'll do what I have to do.
Maybe we decide we don't care about copyright. I don't know, how much trouble could you really get?
I mean, we could lose the channel. We could theoretically... There's so many interesting bosses in this game. I was hoping to get to Mr. Boogie and have to deal with the shotguns and chainsaws in combination, but let me die here so I can have full health, so we can start the beginning of this sewer sequence, so we can get to the end of this section and hopefully see at least one more boss. That's my goal for right now. Just to end on a splattery note, on a spooktacular note. A Creeptacular. That's the name of the show today, right? That was the alliteration I went with. C's, not S's. It's easy to forget sometimes. Anyway, while I'm playing, while I'm redoing this section, do we have any sort of conclusions on the history of horror games as we saw them, as we played out tonight?
I mean, I don't know what conclusion to draw, because, it's inevitable, right? Horror, for a medium that, especially early on, was thought of to be for children. Of course, horror was coming. Horror is inevitable.
Yes.
I think that from what we've seen, that we can see that even in the early days of it too, that they had ideas that they were cooking, right?
Yeah. They just didn't have the technology at the time, but they had the ambition. And so ideas that they had would absolutely come back, would be revisited. Developers later down the line would figure out how to make those ideas work. This poltergeist level is pretty tough, by the way.
I think what we've I think what we've really learned tonight, though, is that mini games were widely considered to be the first survival horror game.
Many games. So never trust people. Just never trust people in general. So that's my advice that I like to give. But people who say that a game is the first of anything are usually talking out their ass unless they can really source and cite that shit. I failed completely at Splatterhouse. That's a shame. That's embarrassing.
Try again next time. Try again next year. Next Halloween, we'll try it.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, that'll do. That was just a bonus anyway. That was just something to play while I drag out the show for a few more minutes at least. Got to the 3-hour mark. And now that we have... Folks, that was the classic Console Creeptacular, the beginning of our October, of our spooky month streaming efforts. We have more plans. We have more scary games to terrify, bad games that will shock you to your core over the course of the month. We also have some stuff that isn't scary stuff. It won't just be exclusively October-themed stuff, but there will be more Halloween and scare-themed stuff throughout the course of the month. We're not going to give any of it away. It's part of the spooks. It's part of the boo! It's part of the jump scare that you'd be surprised when these streams get announced 8 hours before we do them. But, that moment is integral, the moment of shock and horror. To put a final bow on this one, it's interesting to see a genre play out over time. We do our retrospectives, we do our slideshows, we do our histories of weird subgenres or of developers, but something like a genre, and having... Was it 16 games we played tonight? And obviously omitting
don't know.
a number of them, omitting
Yeah.
a number of games that would have been like pertinent to this purview. But to see like, years apart, games years apart from one another, and just that leap in technology and that leap in concepts and design and stuff, to see these very early entries and see what elements of those still persist and survive. What things are so like fundamental to the genre, to gaming as a medium. And I think there's lessons to be learned. Obviously we're much more sophisticated these days. The way that developers, the ways that they find to scare people, revolve mostly like in terms of atmosphere, in terms of building tension, of narrative through lines, of creepy situations and scenarios and stuff that they're thrusting players into. Where back in the day, really all you had was, you didn't have fidelity of graphics, you couldn't really establish ambiance or atmosphere, so all you could really do was the jump scares, or just, isn't it scary that a Frankenstein's monster is here? Just that on its own is supposed to be enough to, like, send fear into the hearts of gamers. Or was intended to, maybe. Probably not. These were still, for as much as these aspired to be like horror films, to hit up some of those notes, to evoke some of those feelings in an audience, they knew full well they couldn't really pull that stuff off back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s. So the facsimiles they presented and the workarounds they found are interesting. They're interesting problem solving. There were some games tonight that were better than others, some that were worse than others, but I don't think you can fault any of the games we played tonight for not at least having some amount of ambition and vision behind them. That these developers all approach similar problems in vastly different ways in this Wild West decade for gaming that was the mid-70s into the mid-80s, into a little bit of the late 80s. But yeah, we will see more horror games. You'll see more that learned and evolved, that iterated on this over the course of the month and moving into the future.
Can I tell them about Tuesday?
If you would like to, yes, please.
Okay. So, because speaking of seeing more horror and spookies and all that stuff, this Tuesday is the return of Fight Night. Cass, we left off of Cass having finally gotten a win off of me, so I'm going to see if I can take it back. But
was I supposed to punish you? Well, don't I have a punishment?
Yeah, who
due
cares?
For that? Yeah, forget that gimmick. Yeah,
forget that gimmick. But the next Fight Night is going to be horror-themed fighting games.
All right, yeah, so we can give
look
that one
forward
away.
to it.
That'll be a fun one.
Yep. And then Thursday, not gonna say, but it is a big one.
It is a big debut. We'll just leave it at that for now. If you like what you saw here tonight, consider subscribing on Twitch, pledging on Patreon, joining the Discord server, and joining the Patreon Saints channel on there, where our subscribers and pledgers and supporters, our boosters, anyone who pays us money can vote on upcoming games and segments and so on and so forth. You can have your voice heard. You can make suggestions direct to us. And plus you can hang out with us. Even if you don't pay, even if you're not financially supporting us, just morally supporting us, that's completely understandable. That's completely fair. Consider joining the Discord anyway, just to hang out with us. And also consider, if you would like to do us some sort of favor, sharing some of our videos on the YouTube channel. We have a playlist, it's called Suggested Viewing, that is some of our hand-picked videos that make for good onboarding, that we think are good examples of what we're all about here at the Bad Game Hall of Fame. Or maybe you know someone who's a real gore hound, a real horror fan, and maybe this stream will do it for them. So maybe this one will make it into the Suggested Viewing. I liked tonight's stream. I liked it a lot. I liked the concept for having come up with it late last night, early this morning, and putting it together over the course of like 6 hours. I think we did pretty all right. I think we did okay on this one. Yeah, let's see who else is streaming at this unholy hour. Ooh. So maybe someone's playing a spooky game. That'd be perfect, wouldn't it? Curse the Eye of Isis. Is that a game about a mummy?
One would assume.
About wrapped up folk doing no good, ne'er-do-wells. Well, Hexymaniac is playing that game, and it looks like a horror game. It's tagged as spooky and survival horror, So I can safely assume that they will provide some spooky gameplay there if you're looking to continue the scares on stream tonight. But I have been your... oh, God. I don't have anything for this one, Charky. I don't have a bit at the end of this one. I don't have a bit that I can pretend.
That was Cassidy.
I'm
Charky.
I've been your skeleton, Cassidy. I don't know. We'll workshop this. By the end of the month, we will come up with at least one good outro tag. We will come up with at least one good bit for the end of one of these episodes. But until that time, until such a time as we figure that out, bye!
Good night, everybody.